Alrighty, welcome back everybody to our latest live stream. Hope everybody's having a good afternoon and evening so far. We do currently have a couple of ongoing tornado warnings, and you might see below me there are currently 27 total warnings ongoing, 5 of which are tornado warnings. So I'm going to give you the latest breakdown and everything that's happening on the radar right now. We're going to first begin with the first tornado warning that we have. We do have one ongoing in Kansas. This is an ongoing tornado on the ground. It's going to be heading towards areas near I don't know how to say this name, but it's going to be going towards this area here in Kansas. It's in southwest Kansas. Make sure you seek shelter immediately away from windows and lowest floor possible. We have a couple different reports with this tornado, one of which about 9:09, so about 17 minutes ago or so, there was a tornado confirmed by the spotter network, something that we actually use quite often here to get reports about these storms that are ongoing. And then we also have another tornado report at 9:15, so only about 11 minutes ago or so, there was a public confirmed tornado just north of Big Bow, and it's just enough sunlight right now for the tornado to be visible. Obviously, it is pretty much pitch black now, but about 20 minutes ago or so, there was still enough daylight to be able to see a tornado on the ground. So that's what we've had so far out of this storm that has been confirmed, and it just got updated. So it is still an ongoing tornado on the ground as of now. Again, this is moving down to the east-southeast. So again, if you're in this area, seek shelter immediately away from windows and lowest floor possible. Rotation's gonna be located just north of 160. It's west of, let me get my pen out so you guys can actually see what we're looking at here. But this is gonna be just west of I don't know how to say that, but you know what I mean. But it's just west of there right now where the tornado's on the ground. Let's go and pull this pen up and let's circle it. So there you go. That's the spot where the tornado's on the ground currently. Again, it's moving down to the east-southeast, and this is what it looks like on the correlation coefficient. I'm not seeing anything definitive at this point in terms of an exact area of debris, but that does not mean there's no tornado on the ground, but it does seem likely that the tornado is going to be located back over here. And actually, we do have now another recent report of a spotter confirming a tornado back about 6 miles to the northeast of Big Bow. So that's the latest update there. So again, if you're in this area, seek shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible. And I am having technical difficulties. I do have to restart the software real quick. I do apologize, and we'll get back to the coverage in just a moment. I'm still here. I just need to restart my program because for some reason, my pen's not cooperating. All right, there we go. All right, let's get to some of the other warnings that we have ongoing. We do have another tornado warning south of this. This is near Elkhart, so this can be a bit further down to the south. This has been a tornado warned storm for quite a while, actually. It's been over in the Oklahoma Panhandle, so you'll notice here that's about just pretty much the second to last county to the west here in the Oklahoma Panhandle. This is near Elkhart. This has been tornado warned for quite some time. It's also producing baseball-sized hail, so very massive hail out of this storm moving off to the east-northeast. Fairly rural area overall. It's going to be just south of Rolla, and it's going to be going towards Hugotown eventually. Let's go over to the velocities. As of right now, this storm's moving off to the north and northeast, and overall, I'm not seeing anything too definitive in terms of rotation, but we are very far away from the closest radar site, so we are looking thousands and thousands of feet above the ground. In terms of where this rotation is, it's likely back in here on the very far western part of this storm. So again, if you're in this area, make sure you seek shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible. We actually do now have a new severe thunderstorm warning that has also been issued on this storm. It goes until 10:15 tonight, and this is for tennis ball sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour damaging winds. That is likely going to replace the tornado warning that we have ongoing right now, because I didn't see a whole lot of rotation there, and it does not seem to be much of a rotating supercell. It looks to be much more of a hailstorm at this point. Let's go further off to the north. We have a lot of storms up in Nebraska as well, near the Scottsbluff area. This is an area that we've had tornado warnings ongoing for a while. There was a tornado emergency here prior to me going live. We had a big tornado on the ground for a while. These are just a couple reports from that storm. Over near Goering, that's about 4 miles east-southeast there of Goering. We did have an ongoing rain-wrapped tornado. It was lofting debris between CR 26 and Highway 92, and then at Highway 26, that is where we also had a tornado report at 9:05 p.m. But as of right now, it seems to have lifted. There are severe thunderstorm warnings out in front of this, but you'll notice the rotation has weakened substantially. We did have, again, a PDS tornado just before we went live. That was on the ground for a good 15 to 20 minutes or so. We had hail upwards of around even 3.3 inches in diameter, so there was very large hail out of the storm. It's still producing very large hail, so again, stay away from windows. Rain-driven hail, or excuse me, not rain-driven hail, wind-driven hail is possible with this storm, as there is the potential for damaging winds upwards of 60 miles per hour as this moves off to the east. Back west of Scottsbluff, we also have a tornado warning here. This is just southwest of Mitchell, and again, if you're in this area, seek shelter immediately away from windows, lowest floor possible, near Morrill as well. Right now, it looks to be a bit more of an outflow-driven storm, and a lot of these storms tonight that are remaining are going to be outflow-driven, so the tornado risk is going to overall be lower, but you'll still notice there is some high winds here, and we do have a little bit of that wind going towards the radar, so there is some rotation there. It's just not organized yet, but if it's able to become organized, we could see another situation where we have a strong tornado on the ground, and this will be going off to the north and east towards Mitchell and as well as Morrill. So if you're in those two locations, you definitely want to make sure that you're seeking shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible. Lyman is not really in the track of this tornado warn cell. It's actually already kind of past you, but I would still stay in your safe place just in case a tornado does drop. We sometimes see debris get lofted up quite far away from where that tornado is. In addition to that, you just don't want to be caught in a tornado like this. If there's one to drop, it could even take a left-hand turn. So that's obviously the concern there. So just make sure you're staying in your safe place. We do have a favorable environment up this direction for the threat of a strong tornado, and that's obviously been proven at this point. We just had a strong tornado southeast of Scottsbluff, Nebraska. So it's definitely a concern tonight. So again, make sure you're staying away from windows and lowest floor possible if you're in either of those tornado warnings. The other tornado warning back east of Scottsbluff has just expired. We are now into severe thunderstorm warnings for hail upwards of 2 inches in diameter. But we did have a report again over in Bayard, and that's in Morrill County, Nebraska. There was 3.25 inch diameter hail. That is about the size of an apple, just a little bit over that. So we are not too far off from softball sized hail here. And we did have just over softball sized hail in Lubbock, Texas earlier today. So obviously this is something that has been a reoccurring theme across the Great Plains over the last few days. But that's the current warnings that we have out there. We have a lot more as well across areas near Interstate 76. So just north of there are a lot of warnings. A lot of these are just for around tennis ball sized hail. I say just because we've seen such significant hail beyond that, again, upwards of 4 to 5 inches in diameter. But right now we are still watching a lot of severe storms here, all of which you should be taking seriously and getting away from windows and again, lowest floor possible if you're in any of these severe thunderstorm warnings, especially with the hail threat. It can be wind driven. That means that hail could literally go side to side, potentially into your windows. That's something that you do not want to get caught in across this area. All right, let's go down to the confirmed tornado again. Again, this is back down in southwest Kansas. This is where we do have a tornado on the ground. Moving down to the east-southeast, and again, we do have a recent report as of 9/12 and 9/15 are the most recent reports of there being a tornado on the ground. Again, it's going to be moving down to the east-southeast, so that's where we're currently most concerned about for a tornado risk. One thing that does stand out to me with this storm as well, and the correlation coefficient, I don't see any debris signature here, meaning that we don't have a radar-confirmed tornado, at least from my eyes here, but you will notice that all this up here, that is going to be not debris, but that is the hail that's falling. We have so much hail falling with this supercell that it's actually being detected on the radar itself. So just northwest of again, I don't know the pronunciation. If anybody can put the pronunciation for this town in the chat, I'd really appreciate it because I am struggling with this name. But just northwest of there, that is where we have a lot of hail falling. But again, a tornado is likely still on the ground here, moving down to the east-southeast. And the tornado would like to be usually sitting in this little hook right here. So that's your hook right there. Again, inflow going to the storm. Rotation's going to be embedded there just to the northwest of this town here, north of 160 and west of 25. So that little circle here, that is where that tornado is likely on the ground, if it is still on the ground. But the correlation coefficient is not definitively saying that is on the ground right now. There's definitely still some strong rotation here without a doubt. So definitely still concerning as this moves off to the east-southeast. Ulysses, thank you. I don't know why that was so hard to pronounce. Appreciate it. Also, make sure to hit the like button, by the way, if you're just tuning in. It helps get this out to more people. Again, we do have a tornado on the ground here going through the town of Ulysses, and it's going to be moving down to the east-southeast near 160 in southwest Kansas. We do not have Vince with us tonight. Storm Chaser Vince, he is not with us. I don't know exactly where he is. I know Brandon Kopik is tracing somewhere, but that's about it. I don't know much else, but Vince is not with us tonight. We are going to be doing radar breakdown pretty much. But one thing I do want to show from earlier, this is from Lubbock. I did mention that there was around softball size plus hail in Lubbock earlier. This is a photo that we had sent in to us of tennis ball sized hail, and look how many different hailstones this one of our viewers from North Texas Weather Center found, Haley Stout. And yeah, this is a lot of tennis ball sized hail. That's actually probably baseball sized in that range. Again, very, very large hail. It's crazy how consistent all this hail is too. It's so consistent. It's actually wild. I mean, seeing that much consistent hail, 8 hailstones, all tennis ball size or around baseball size, all very consistent, is pretty wild to me. I've never really seen that many consistent hailstones when it comes to that large of a quantity as well. I mean, we're talking 8 different tennis ball sized hailstones. That is a lot. Also, just a quick update for those down in Texas. We're not really going to be talking about Texas a whole lot, but there are some severe storms down here. Most of these are just producing damaging winds up to 60 and maybe some ping pong ball sized hail. The most concerning storm actually is back up near Vernon. This one's been producing some downburst winds around 70 miles per hour for quite some time, and as well as around golf ball sized hail. So just a quick update there. If you're back down in Texas, we did have a 69 mile per hour gust around Childress, but this is 58 miles per hour back near Goodlet. So there's been some high winds down that direction. We'll keep a close eye on those storms, but definitely not our main concern right now. The tornado warning back over near Ulysses is no longer observed, so it's back down to radar indicated rotation. It is still producing the potential for some tennis ball sized hail. So as of right now, again, the rotation's gonna be located in that hook. We're gonna go back to the reflectivity. So this is what it looks like on the radar. Again, pretty classic looking supercell. We have a little hook in here. It's a very small area. The hook echo itself is kind of losing its structure a bit. So there's still inflow going into the storm. But again, I'm not seeing a definitive area here where we actually have an ongoing tornado. It's definitely gonna be radar indicated here with the velocities as well not being tight and confined. They are strong, but they're not tight and confined at this point. So again, no tornado it looks like for the time being, which I mentioned a few minutes ago. It looked to be more of a hailstorm. Correlation coefficient is also not picking up on any sort of tornado, but it is picking up on hail. You'll notice back up here, that is all hail back up here. So we are definitely looking at some large to very large hail with this storm, but I do think that tornado risk still exists. It is a discrete supercell after all. It's just gonna have a bit of a tough time with this sort of environment where we do have another outflow boundary that is developed that is gonna kind of limit the overall rotation at the lower levels. So that's definitely something to keep in mind here. A lot of the storms that we'll see probably throughout the rest of this evening and into the overnight hours, especially across areas in Kansas, will likely be more of a damaging wind and hail threat. I think that tornado risk does start to go down after 10 o'clock tonight. Further off to the north, let's go closer to Scottsbluff again. This is an area that we did have an ongoing, or we still do have an ongoing tornado warning. West of Scottsbluff, this is an area that we just had a PDS tornado not too long ago. West of Scottsbluff, right now near Lyman, Morrill, and Mitchell, we have a massive hailstorm brewing. Actually, just about an hour and a half ago, out of the storm that was PDS going through Scottsbluff, actually produced 4-inch hail. Most recently through Scottsbluff, it was around baseball size. But look at this massive hail core here. That is probably going to be in the range of around softball sized hail is my guess here. The correlation coefficient is picking up on that very clearly. So there's likely some very large hail falling here. The potential for a tornado does exist. I think that the storm, though, is experiencing some contamination, mainly because of how large this hail probably is. I mean, we are talking about very large hail potential heading towards Mitchell, and the storm itself is currently actually warned for around ping pong ball sized hail, but it could very well be much larger than that. I mean, we have a very deep reflectivity reading here near 79 south of Morrill, southwest of Mitchell. If you're in Mitchell, get away from windows lowest floor possible for both the threat of hail and as well as the tornado risk. Very, very concerning storm here. The new tornado warning, by the way, just got issued for Scottsbluff and as well as Sioux County in Nebraska. So both of those counties are included. Scottsbluff just went under a PDS tornado warning about an hour ago, maybe a little bit under that. But there was obviously a PDS tornado just south of you. You are now in the line for another tornado warn cell. This is not an ongoing tornado on the ground, but it is radar indicated rotation heading towards Scottsbluff. So if you're in Scottsbluff, seek shelter immediately, away from windows and in the lowest floor possible. Interior room of your home or building. We definitely have some high winds as well, potentially in the center of this. If that's not just high winds, it could very well just be very large hail. Again, there might be some contamination with this. Usually where the tornado would like to sit, though, with this sort of cell is typically going to be right about here. I'm not seeing a whole lot of strong rotation there, but we are definitely probably seeing some upper level rotation. So let's go a bit higher up. And yeah, there is definitely some higher up rotation. So look up actually here, just southwest of Mitchell. Very interesting spot here. Right there, we actually have some upper level rotation, so potentially, or perhaps at least, a funnel cloud, but that's where our rotation is. The low level rotation is very off, but we definitely have some mid-level rotation with this storm. So perhaps, again, a funnel cloud with this storm or a wall cloud. I'm going to see if we have any reports on that, though. Give me 1 second on that. We're going to go to Twitter and check. Twitter is sometimes useful. More than anything, I'll look at the Spotter Network, because they're usually pretty good with that sort of stuff. Actually, we do have some video footage, just kind of, I'm not going to show it, but we do have some video footage at least of this storm near Lyman. And this storm in particular has a lot of hail for sure. There's not really a whole lot of a lowering. There might be like a small funnel cloud, but we're not seeing anything definitive in terms of a lowering with this storm quite yet. And again, where that tornado would likely sit with this would be probably right about there. That's where we have the strongest rotation. Usually they like to sit a little bit further down to the south and east, but yeah, you'll notice here, that's where the tightest of the rotation is. Again, we are still very far off from the surface. Going closer to the surface, the rotation is all over the place. We actually don't really have any at the surface quite yet. It's pretty disorganized in terms of its velocity. So these are the winds going away from the radar, and that's going towards the radar. It's still very, very far off, but again, there is some strong upper level rotation, which is very concerning because that could mean a tornado could drop legitimately at any time. So definitely make sure you're staying away from windows and in the lowest floor possible. Again, we do have a new tornado warning if you're just tuning in for Scottsbluff, Nebraska, and as well as Mitchell. No, this is not an old stream. This is not pre-recorded. This is happening right now. Again, We had a tornado warning in Scottsbluff, but this is not the same one. This is a brand new one. I believe this is the second tornado warning of the day for Scottsbluff. And again, the first one was the PDS tornado. This one is in a pretty favorable environment, and it could produce a tornado at any time. So make sure, again, you're seeking shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible. Thank you, Shadow, for the $5 super chat. On the northern side of the hook, it shows gate to gate of 44. Do you think it'll have the energy to recycle? Are you talking about this specific storm? Near Scottsbluff on the northern side. I'm guessing you're talking about this one. If you're talking about this one, I do think it has a chance of producing a tornado. The upper level rotation is strong, or the mid level. It's more of the mid level rotation. It's strong in the mid levels. The very low levels I'm talking about near the surface, it's not very strong at all. And obviously that is very evident with the video evidence that we have as well. So at this current time, I do think it has a solid chance of producing a tornado. It's just gonna be a matter of, can that low level rotation get strong enough? We just had a storm go by. There's been a lot of rain, cool air, temperatures have dropped off. That can sometimes play with the overall tornado probabilities. When we have rain falling and dew points dropping, that sort of stuff. I'm not sure how much it's actually dropped here. We'll check with the surface analysis, but I don't think it's anything too beyond the ordinary. So about 70 degrees. Further off to the east, about 72, but I think storms rolled through there about 81. So, I mean, 70 degrees for a temperature and as well as a dew point. Let's check that. I'm pretty sure it's around, yeah, it's the upper 60s. It's still favorable in terms of the temperatures and the dew points, but obviously there's a lot more ingredients there needed. But the rain cool air could be an inhibitor to this storm at this point. So that's one of the biggest concerns, I'd say. If there weren't to be a tornado, it would likely be because of that and the struggle of low-level rotation with that sort of stuff. But the low-level jet is strong enough tonight for another tornado here. I mean, it's not out of the question, but again, the low-level rotation is struggling. Mid-level rotation is much stronger at this time, but we'll, again, see kind of how this unfolds. It's definitely a dangerous storm. Regardless of it having a tornado, we're still talking about high winds being a factor and as well as some very large hail. Again, the hail core here is fairly large. We are still talking about the potential for hail, maybe in excess of 2 inches in diameter heading towards Scottsbluff. We have no recent reports at this time of that, but it's definitely not out of the question. Oh, Euless storm. Oh, actually, let's go down that direction. I think the Euless, or the Ulysses, I don't know. But whatever this place is, Ulysses, something like that. Near 160. This storm in particular, it does have a chance of producing a tornado again, but the thing is, we do have an outflow boundary, so when it becomes outflow driven, they usually do not produce as much of a tornado risk, but there is still some strong rotation here. I mean, we definitely have strong velocities for sure near Euless, and actually, look at this right here. This is a little bit off the ground, but very strong rotation there. Let's go to the correlation coefficient. I'm not seeing anything at this point in terms of debris, but we have very strong rotation near Euless, just off the ground. Very strong rotation. That's probably at least a funnel cloud is my guess, if we have any sort of video evidence of that. I don't think we have any yet, but I'm going to see if we can find any. This is a situation where you very well could just have an ongoing funnel cloud here. Very tight rotation in the upper levels, so that is definitely a concern. But I'm not seeing anything quite yet in terms of photos or videos on this storm. I don't know how many chasers are actually in this area. There's probably at least a few, though. Yeah, so as of right now, again, this storm has a potential. It actually has fairly strong rotation for what it is. It is discrete. That's the one thing about it. When we have discrete cells like this anywhere, including Kansas, they usually increase the risk of tornadoes instead of like being in a cluster. That's pretty, typical for any supercell. But again, we do have an outflow boundary, so I'm not sure if this does extend all the way down here, but if it does, that would obviously decrease the tornado risk. It might actually cut off a little bit early, though. It looks like it's going kind of into here. So tornado risk still exists with this storm. The shortest answer is, yeah, I mean, definitely has the potential with how strong the velocities still are right now. A little bit off the ground. At the ground and at the surface, it's a bit weaker. Again, it's a little bit broader in here. Here are the winds going towards the radar. That's away from the radar. So right now there is still some gray area in there, which means broader rotation at the surface. But it's definitely strong aloft, that's for sure. As the storm moves off to the east. And again, it has a pretty classic looking little hook here. It's not a very defined hook, but it is definitely there. And then we have a pretty clean inflow going into the storm still. So all the ingredients are there for a tornado. Will it happen, though, is going to be the question. New severe thunderstorm warning as well, back down just to the west of Wichita Falls, near Vernon and Electra. I know we have a lot of North Texas viewers. This going down to the east-southeast, still producing some hail upwards of golf ball size, and as well as damaging winds around 70. All right, let's go back up to the tornado warnings further to the north. We actually have a brand new one west of Sterling in Colorado. So this can be again in northeast Colorado, far northeast of Denver, just west of Sterling. New tornado warning here. Seek shelter if you're in this warning, away from windows, lowest floor possible. Fairly strong rotation here. That's where the tornado would be located if we were to have one. So again, west of Sterling, near 14, likely going to be a fairly rural area here, but if you're in this area, make sure you seek shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible in an interior room of your home or building. We currently have 3 tornado warnings and 22 severe thunderstorm warnings, by the way, and we're going to go back up to the north. We're going to go back to the Scottsbluff storm. If you're in Scottsbluff, we're going to really probably keep our most attention to the storm near Scottsbluff, because this one's about to be entering a fairly populated area. If you're in Scottsbluff, again, make sure you get to your safe place immediately. Do not wait. This storm's going to be there within the next 5 minutes, if not even sooner. So definitely make sure you seek shelter. Ulysses, thank you. Yeah, Euless, Texas. That's what I was thinking of. I don't know why I was saying Euless. I thank you, by the way, again, shout out for the $2 super chat. Appreciate it. All right. By the way, just a quick update. We still have Tropical Storm Sydney and Tropical Storm Brett. I just wanted to mention that. Nothing new about them. I just haven't really made any videos about them. They don't have any impact to the United States, but it is interesting for this time of year. All right, let's go back to the, we're going to go back to the correlation coefficient here in a second. This is the latest radar scan as of literally now. So again, this tornado warning was issued about 10 minutes ago. Again, Scottsbluff is under the gun here for a potential tornado. Again, this is not on the ground at this given time, but there is still some rotation here. We're not seeing anything, at least right now, at the surface that indicates strong rotation, but that is usually where the tornado would like to sit at this point. It's going to be right about there near 26 south. So, or yeah, about 26. So Route 26, that's where it is in terms of the rotation. And this is slightly higher up off the ground. Again, velocities have been quite weak in the lower levels. If we go a little bit off the ground, though, it's much stronger. We don't have a radar update, though, yet on the higher up elevation, but there is definitely some stronger rotation a little bit off the ground. I still think the main concern with this storm, though, is likely going to be the hail threat. Again, we have a very, very deep reflectivity here, which usually is indicative of some fairly large hail, and with the lapse rates today, they are quite steep, which, for those that are weather geeks like me, steep lapse rates do usually indicate some larger hailstones, at least having hail reaching the ground at a larger quantity. So that's definitely a concern here west of Scottsbluff. So if you're in Scottsbluff, again, make sure you get away from windows as well, lowest floor possible, and obviously don't try to go outside and move your car. It's kind of too late for that. There is a lot of lightning with these storms as well. We're going to go to the lightning maps and check out how much lightning there is. Back near Scottsbluff, though, there is probably a ton of lightning. How many supercells there has to be. I mean, there's undoubtedly going to be a lot of lightning in this area. So right now across areas like Colorado and as well as near Scottsbluff, there's probably 60 strikes per minute. So it's actually not as much as I thought it was, but there's still a lot of lightning here. Again, near Scottsbluff in particular, that is where we're watching a tornado warned cell. That's where we're at. So again, seek shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible. Again, the rotation does not seem to be very impressive here. It's just more of a hail threat right now, I'd say. Yeah, Brett's gonna be gone, I think, by tomorrow. So then Sydney should be gone by early next week. Friendly reminder, if you're just tuning in for the first time, make sure to hit the like button down below. Helps get this out to more people. Also, make sure to subscribe if you're new here and click the bell icon so you get notified with the latest live streams. Again, we are currently covering a ongoing tornado warning near Scottsbluff, Nebraska. And a friendly reminder, Scottsbluff, Nebraska, just south of there, saw a PDS tornado, which means a particularly dangerous situation. About an hour ago, literally an hour ago, we had a rain-wrapped tornado southeast of Scottsbluff. It did not go through Scottsbluff, but it was just on the outskirts. Luckily, it did not go through the downtown area of Scottsbluff. Again, it's very populated there. But that tornado did kind of path right through here. And if we have time at some point after these tornado warnings end, we'll do a little, we'll go back a little bit. We'll do the past radar and show you what that looked like on radar. But that is where the tornado went. So it's near, just southeast of G-Ring and near about 26 and 92. That's where it went through. And there was, again, a large and destructive tornado on the ground. For what we know, I don't know if there's been, I haven't seen any destruction in terms of destruction photos yet, but I'm guessing there was probably some damage down that direction. So if you know anybody anywhere just southeast of Scottsbluff, make sure they're doing all right with that tornado that just went through recently. Here's the latest radar scan on the storm. Again, that's tornado warning near Scottsbluff. Again, a lot of hail likely falling here, if not very heavy rain at the bare minimum. If you're a truck driver near 92 or 26, excuse me, in the Scottsbluff area, you're going to want to make sure that you are pulling over and do the proper precautions that you do when any storms are rolling through, but usually pulling over is the best option, and away from the storm if you're able to. This storm is definitely very dangerous with high winds possible, and as well as the threat for a tornado. But I'm not seeing, again, a whole lot of surface rotation. We still have some rotation a little bit off the ground, but it's, again, not overly strong, tight, or confined at this point. We had stronger rotation, I would say, back about 10 minutes ago, but we have rotation at least in the clouds, so again, aloft a bit, but I'm not seeing any rotation right now that's definitive here on radar. And to this point, I'm going to check and see if we have any sort of reports of any sort of, lowering, but I don't think we have any at this current time. Definitely very dark clouds, though, that's for sure. Yeah, so as of right now, again, not really any definitive lowering. It is just a very massive supercell, but it does have a potential for potentially producing a tornado. I mean, it has the structure itself is not overly definitive, but I'll show you a photo, but I really can't find one that would be showable here. But again, it looks to be more of a hail producer. That's what I've been kind of saying since the beginning, but there is, again, a potential for a tornado. It does exist. It just, again, I think it's going to struggle with the low-level rotation due to how much rain's already fallen here. And since we just had a massive hailstorm go through, I mean, it just kind of weakens out any discrete cells behind it. So that's kind of the problem sometimes with these other cells. But obviously, it's a good problem for us. We don't have to really deal with any sort of tornado. But I'd still say in your safe place, just in case it does pop down a tornado, maybe briefly. And rotation right now is going to be located about a mile or two just to the west of Scottsbluff. That's your area of rotation right now. So about a mile or so just off to the west of Scottsbluff. That's where your rotation's located. But I'm still seeing a lot more of a wind threat more than anything. I do not see a whole lot of rotation here at this time. And thank you. I appreciate it being subbed from the Manhattan. I actually remember that stream, the Manhattan, Kansas stream. That was crazy. I gotta change my title real quick. Give me 1 second. Also, I do apologize. I was gonna have a different thumbnail, but I was rushing to get a live stream out. I was not able to make a thumbnail for this live stream. I just I tried to make it as best I could, but it was really rushed. I wasn't really able to go live earlier, so I do apologize. I know somebody was saying it was a bit confusing. How is Ulysses? Let's go down there real quick. We're going to go down there for like 2 seconds. I'm going to primarily focus on that other storm. The tornado warning, though, for Ulysses has expired at this point or been canceled, one of the two. This storm does seem to be losing a bit of its shape. It at least has a hook still, a little bit of inflow. I mean, it's still kind of clean here. You can kind of see, like, at least there is a chance for a tornado, I would say. But there is right now the new severe thunderstorm warning is for damaging winds around 60 and as well as quarter-sized hail. All right, let's go back up to the tornado warning in Scottsbluff. Again, this is about to hit the downtown area of Scottsbluff. Pretty critical that we kind of stay on this storm for right now. Again, very large hail potential here just on the west side of Scottsbluff. So again, if you're in this area, seek shelter immediately away from windows and lowest floor possible if you're near Scottsbluff or in Scottsbluff. So again, a very dangerous storm right now. Moving off to the east-northeast. Again, it is capable of a tornado at any time. If you're in Scottsbluff, seek shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible. Trying to see if we have any view of the storm as well, so be kind of checking that out here as well. Yeah, the rotation's gonna be located pretty much over Scottsbluff right now. If we go back to the velocities here, it's pretty much over Scottsbluff. Again, it's still very broad rotation. I'm not seeing anything in the low levels that indicates a tornado at all, but we still have rotation. It looks like right over the downtown area of Scottsbluff. This is what it looks like a little bit higher up in the atmosphere, and this is way higher in the atmosphere, but we do not have this latest scan on this one. This is basically the most recent scan here. It's right over Scottsbluff. So again, if you're in Scottsbluff, stay in your safe place. As this storm does pass, a tornado could definitely happen at any time, but it does seem, again, kind of unlikely at this point. Not trying to downplay it, I'm just saying that's what we're seeing right now. It's definitely on the weaker side of things. Thanks, Buckeye. I appreciate it. How's it going, Shelly? And friendly reminder, if you're just tuning in, make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe if you've not already. And we'll be keeping you posted with the latest on these storms as they continue to march off to the east-northeast. Again, this is a tornado warning in Scottsbluff, Nebraska. We do have a new severe thunderstorm watch that has just been issued for parts of North Texas. I'm going to really quickly go down here. We're going to go back to Scottsbluff. I just have to really quickly take a screenshot of this. But again, new severe thunderstorm watch has been issued for parts of North Texas. This is going to include areas near Mineral Wells, west of Decatur, not including the DFW Metroplex. Damaging winds, large hail are the main concerns. And that's about it for that right now. We're going to go back up to the tornado warnings. We have a lot of tornado warnings popping up in Colorado as well. We're going to go to those in a second. But Scottsbluff right now, again, if you're in Scottsbluff, get away from windows. Lowest floor possible. The rotation is literally overhead of you. Again, tornado does seem unlikely at this point, but I would still stay in your safe place. Rotation's been broad for a little while. But we can sometimes see a tornado happen in between radar scans, so it's always a good thing to stay in your safe place as the storm does pass. Alright, done with that. Alright. Is anybody in Scottsbluff right now, by the way, watching? I'm just kind of curious. I don't know if you guys are hearing anything or anything like that, but let me know. Scottsbluff is in Nebraska. We are currently in we're basically in western Nebraska right now. We have 3 other tornado warnings, by the way, that have just appeared in northeast Colorado, just northeast of Fort Morgan near Sterling. We are going to get to those probably in the next 5 minutes. We're just going to kind of see how the storm plays out here over the Scottsbluff area. But there's, again, a pretty good concern here for some large to very large hail over Scottsbluff. I'm going to check and see if we have any reports out of that. But there's a potential, again, for some large hail. We do have a quarter-sized hail report out of Mitchell, but it's on the northern side. So it's not necessarily where this area of hail is falling. So, again, that's our little hail core near 26. So, again, just off to the west of Scottsbluff, that's where our large hail core is. And we are getting a few reports as well of some street flooding, which we've already seen a lot of rain here, so street flooding is also a potential here. But again, no confirmed or observed funnel clouds or tornadoes or anything like that quite yet. We are going to keep you posted if anything does change there. I'm going to actually check to see if we have any new reports on that, but I don't think we do right now. There is a severe thunderstorm warning, by the way, that was just issued for this area for golf ball sized hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds, and that goes until 10:45. So the severe thunderstorm warning very well may just replace the tornado warning that we have, which that happens quite often with storms that are just not really producing a whole lot of rotation. It's a very impressive looking supercell, though. I mean, I've seen a lot of photos on Twitter. If you're not following me on Twitter, it's at MaxVelocityWX. It's also the pinned link in the chat. I'm going to be retweeting some of the photos over there, so feel free to follow me there if you would like. That's where we're going to be retweeting some of these photos. But at this time, again, nothing too crazy in terms of a lowering. We really don't have any lowering in person. I'm not seeing anything, so again, I'm not very concerned about a tornado right now, but I would still stay in your safe place, at least for the next few minutes. It's always a good precaution just in case. There also might be some high winds, potentially some wind-driven hail. Those threats are also possible. Definitely very concerning if we were to have any of those. But rotation, again, very broad, very weak at this point. It's going to be basically about half a mile, maybe, northeast of Scottsbluff. That's about it. That's zoomed in here. Again, there's a lot of gray area right now between the reds and the greens. A lot of red area, or a lot of gray area, excuse me. So that usually indicates broad rotation, which is good news. Good news overall. We do have a flash flood warning, by the way, that literally just got issued until 1 a.m. And we just had a report of some street flooding in Scottsbluff. So this is now an area that we do have a flash flood warning for Scottsbluff, Mitchell, as well as areas just to the north of Route 26, I believe it is. That's going to go back out to the east north of Bayard. This is going to be until 1 a.m. So if you're in this area, just make sure you turn around, don't drown, make sure you're not driving through flood waters. A lot of people do, and they instantly regret it, so don't do that. I'll just say that. But again, we do currently, again, have a new flash flood warning for this area. It also includes Perrin, Nebraska. 33,000 people live in this area. All right. Midland, Texas, I believe, should be winding down if you've not already. I've already seen that hail video. Yeah, I saw that hail video over on Twitter, actually. That hail video out of Denver. Yeah, there was some wild hail, I'll say that. There's been some wild hailstorms recently to begin with. It's been extremely active. Again, it's unprecedented. I've talked to a lot of different people, meteorologists and stuff like that, and I mean, I've never seen anything like this. It's pretty miraculous how much hail we've seen recently. Not just in Colorado. Colorado is pretty typical in my opinion. They see hail pretty often during this time of the year. But what we've seen down in the southern plains is on a whole nother level. I've never seen something like this. We are basically seeing May in June. It's literally what it is. I mean, usually the weather that we're seeing now is typically more of a May type pattern, but we are seeing August type heat. It's really the weirdest thing. And yeah, it's interesting. Interesting stuff, I'll say that. Hail core is going through Scottsbluff right now, so we might get some more reports on this. Tornado warning has officially been canceled. We do have a hail report coming out of Scottsbluff of core size as well on the southern side of this, so that's just south of here. That's going to be right about there. So we do currently have, at least for the time being, some fairly large hail potentially falling here. Again, damaging hail at the bare minimum around at least quarter size, so that might leave some dents in your vehicle or potentially some roof damage. So make sure you're staying away from windows, again, in lowest floor possible if you're in this area as the storm passes, and as well as some lightning. A lot of people sometimes forget about the lightning threat with this, and that can sometimes be cloud to ground lightning that can strike a house and whatnot, so you just don't want to even try to go outside, and again, stay on the lowest floor possible. Fun fact back last, or it's not really even a fun fact, it's kind of a dirty fact. Last year in Oklahoma, there was lightning that struck a house, and it went through the house into a toilet. The toilet blew up, and luckily nobody was there, but there was a toilet literally blown up from lightning, and that was from a storm last year. And again, I really don't even know how that really happens, but that did happen last year. I remember it, and there was a photo of it. I would have to find it, but that is a thing. All right, let's go back down to the south and to northeast Colorado, and we actually have some very strong rotation just to the northwest of Hill Rose. Again, rural area here, but if you're anywhere near the Hill Rose area, seek shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible. Very strong rotation. We actually could see a potential for a tornado at any time here. But again, this is fairly strong rotation here, moving off to the east. So if you're in this area, seek shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible. I am going to try to see if I can find that photo real quick. I don't think it should be too hard to find. I have it on my Facebook, so see if I can find it. If not, if you want to tweet me on Twitter with it, let me know. You can go ahead and do that as well. Problem is I make so many... Oh, yeah, I found it. Never mind. I found it. This is what it looked like. Wow, that is a tiny image. I might have to just show the entire thing here. This is what it looks like. So this is a toilet blowing up from lightning. Yeah, again, I'm not even kidding. This is real. It's not fake. That is exactly what happened over in Oklahoma. That was back May 5th of 2022, so last year. Oxford apartments in the Oklahoma area. I don't know exactly where that is, but yeah, that was something else. All right, back a little bit off topic. Let's go back to what's happening now. Again, we do have 2 tornado warnings here in northeast Colorado, one of which is west of Sterling. Again, one over here northwest of Hill Rose. Hill Rose rotations weakened out just a little bit. Other one west of Sterling still has some rotation there. A little bit concerning, but moving off to the east northeast. We don't have to be talking about Taco Bell with this toilet thing. I actually made that joke in a short one time, a YouTube short, I think, or is it TikTok? I can't remember. Weird stuff. All right. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning, by the way, back down in Vernon, Texas, and Electra. Damaging winds are still ongoing up to about 70 miles per hour. So if you're back down that direction, again, make sure you're staying alert away from windows. And yeah, that storm again producing 70 mile per hour damaging winds and quarter-sized hail. And also, the Lubbock tornado. Do you guys know Matador, the Matador, Texas tornado? Has there been any confirmation of the EF yet? I have not seen it on the National Weather Service Lubbock account yet. I'm guessing they haven't posted it since there's been severe weather today, but I just wasn't sure if I missed it. I've been trying to keep update with that. That tornado was unbelievable. The Matador, Texas tornado. I'm guessing a lot of you've heard of it at this point, but there was a fairly large tornado that went through Matador, Texas about 2 days ago. Or literally 2 days ago, just over 2 days ago now. 2 days and like 4 hours or something like that. And it was a large tornado on the ground, produced a lot of damage. A Dollar General store literally got flattened in pretty much the entire town. So, all right, so there hasn't been anything, but yeah, that's one of those things. We might hear about it tomorrow morning at this point, but we possibly could hear about it late today. I don't know yet, but I'm not gonna really speculate on what the EF category of that was, but yeah, it was probably on the higher end of a tornado scale. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking at this point. But yeah, definitely, again, prayers to anybody who was in that storm. 4 were killed from that tornado too. It was very deadly tornado, and yeah, very sad stuff there. Let's go back up to Scottsbluff real quick. I'm not sure if we have any new reports on that storm. Again, it's not tornado warned anymore in Scottsbluff, but we do have some hail ongoing. Rotation's completely fizzled out. I mean, it was pretty much fizzled out for the last like 15 minutes, but obviously as a good safety precaution, there was some upper level rotation. But that storm is moving off to the north and east. We have a lot of potential for hail on the northeast side of the storm, but I'm not seeing anything in terms of a rotating supercell anymore, at least at the lower levels. But yeah, no new hail reports on this storm, so we don't have any new hail reports at this time. If we get any, I'll keep you posted, but for the time being, we do not have any new hail reports. So I was kind of curious to see what the hail size was of this storm as of recently, but I don't think we've had any recent ones here. And yeah, so no new reports on that storm, but if we get any, I'll keep you posted. If you live in the Scottsbluff area and you see any hail outside, and you're distant away enough from a window to be able to safely see it, let me know in the chat if you're seeing anything out there in terms of large hail. But at this time, again, it's a bit of a question mark how large the hail actually is. It's at least around quarter size. That's the bare minimum there. All right, back down to Colorado, northeast Colorado. Again, we still have 2 rotating supercells, one of which is north of Brush and Fort Morgan. It's going to be going towards Hill Rose. So if you're in Hill Rose, again, make sure that you are getting to your safe place in the next couple minutes. And Sterling should be on alert. But if you're just a little bit further to the north of Sterling, Colorado, just north and west of Interstate 76, that is where that rotation will be heading. So we have 2 different areas of rotation, one of which is going a bit more to the east-northeast, and one of which is just northwest of Hill Rose. So if you're in those 2 areas, seek shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible. Thank you, Anthony, by the way, for sending that in. Appreciate it. It's lightning over in Texas. How's it going, Gee? Abilene has a pretty low chance of severe weather. It's not very high at this point. It's going to be on the lower end of things. If you see anything, it's just damaging winds, but you might already be done with. I'm not 100% sure, though. If you're not done with, if you haven't seen a storm yet, if you see one, it's damaging winds up to 70, and maybe some sporadic hail. Where are all those grass circles in Fort Morgan? I really do not know. I do not live in this area, but I'm guessing it's some sort of farmland, is my guess. We're on a satellite imagery, so that's kind of what we're working with right now. But yeah, we're on a satellite imagery, so I'm not 100% sure, but I'm guessing it's some sort of farmland. Maybe it's just glitched out particles. I don't know. I really do not know. I'm not from Colorado, and I've never been there. Believe it or not. Let's roll quickly. I don't know if there's any other radar sites here. There's one more closer down to the southwest here. Go to that one. This is a better view of the tornado warned cells. This is a much better view, actually. So this is what the supercell looks like near Hill Rose. The one again, this is northeast Colorado, near Interstate 76. So we have a fairly definitive hook echo. And we also have a clean inflow going to the storm. Usually the tornado is going to sit typically down here, but if we go back over to the velocities, it's a little bit further up to the north, I believe. At least where it's indicating rotation. It's back up here, which isn't usually typical. It's probably going to be back down here. So just down to the southwest of that. So that's our area of rotation usually. But if you're in this area, again, seek shelter. Going towards Hill Rose. I'm not, again, seeing anything too crazy, though, at this time. In terms of rotation, where it should be, which is going to be just about west-northwest of Hill Rose by about 10 miles or so. Also, we do have a hail report about 30 minutes ago, but it's still relevant. About $0.5 sized hail here in Morgan County. That was likely from the storm that's back up near Sterling now. The storm near Sterling is actually warned for up to 2-inch hail. This one, I think, is going to be the best chance to produce 2-inch hail, though, is going to be with this right here. That's a pretty large hail core. It's a large area, so we could see hail anywhere in there. They'll be going towards Moreno as well as Hill Rose. So probably not Hill Rose, but Moreno is probably better on the track of this. It's going a bit more due east. So the rotation itself is heading pretty much towards Hill Rose, if not maybe just a smidge to the north of there. If you're down near Brush, I would stay alert, but I think this tornado just stays to your north here. We can also do a little quick 30-minute loop as well. Okay, those circles are farms. Okay, I figured so much. Yeah, this storm in particular is going a bit more due east. The storm back up here near Sterling, definitely going in a more east-northeast pattern. And usually the polygons where they're angled towards or toward is usually going to be where they're going towards. So, in terms of storm direction. Also, the one down near Hill Rose actually is a little bit, the hook is almost going down to the east-southeast almost. So Hill Rose is kind of in the path of that. But the hail core itself is going a bit more due east right now. So if you're near Moreno, just make sure you're seeking shelter. Oops. Let's go up here real quick. We do have a confirmed report as of about 30 minutes ago in Scottsbluff County over in Morrill. This is actually from this storm that just went through Scottsbluff. It was potentially producing baseball-sized hail. That was a photo that came out of there. Just over, again, about 2 hours ago now. This is not from this storm in particular, but softball-sized hail fell west of Scottsbluff. And in Scottsbluff moments ago, there was baseball-sized hail. So I was actually kind of right about that. I'm surprised the warning was so low in terms of the warning, in terms of the hail, because there's only warning for around golf ball size or $half size. Was baseball-sized hail in Scottsbluff moments ago. So there was very well damaging hail in Scottsbluff. I will try to see if we can find any photos of that. But again, Scottsbluff, fairly large hail just fell there in the realm of baseball size. That's the most recent report as of about 6 minutes ago. Yeah, we had some fairly large hail. I'm trying to see if we have anything here. Oh, we actually now have an extremely dangerous situation, actually, for Scottsbluff. It's going to be on the east side of Scottsbluff now. This is an extremely dangerous situation for the threat for baseball-sized hail. So this warning's been upgraded entirely. In the Scottsbluff, Carlson, and as well as Mintle area. Those areas currently in that warning, but Scottsbluff is now leaving that hail core. The hail core is really impacting Carlson now. So if you're in Carlson, Nebraska, you're going to want to make sure that you are getting away from windows and in the lowest floor possible. The potential for baseball-sized hail exists here. As it moves off to the east-northeast, really no other areas in the short-term track of this. It'll get close to Perrin, Nebraska, but it should just stay down, or that storm should just stay to your north. And Beria will be the next area in the track, but those are long-term areas. But right now, if you're in Carlson, get to your safe place. Again, baseball-sized hail is likely in the next few minutes. Again, we just had reports out of Scottsbluff of baseball-sized hail. But at this point, we do not have any sort of reports here, or any photos, excuse me, of that hail. But at this point, we at least have confirmation of that. My thumbnail showing the wrong area. Is it actually? Wait, did I not put the right thumbnail on here? Oh, that would be why. I apologize. I did not realize that. That is my bad. I had a thumbnail and I forgot to replace it. I just replaced it. I do really apologize for that. I did not know that. I knew you guys were saying that, but I thought it was just the one that was from today's video. I really do apologize. I did not realize that. I'm changing over to the. It's changed over the right one now. Thank you for letting me know. I really do apologize. That was wild. We're almost an hour in and I did not realize that. All right, let's get back to the storms. We're going to go back down into northeast Colorado. We're going to go back to the tornado warnings. And we're also going to go back down to Kansas in a second. We haven't really checked in on that in a little bit. Yeah, sorry. You guys should have not been confused. I was really wondering why so many people were commenting about the thumbnail. I mean, it's just from today's video, but yeah, again, I really do apologize about that. I never do that. That was not intentional, by the way. That was just completely accidental. Good blooper. All right, back down closer to Hillrose. Currently back down near Interstate 76. Again, this is in the Hillrose area in Colorado. We do still have some rotation here. It's pretty broad, though, at this time. The storm itself looks pretty impressive still. I mean, we still have a hook here, but the rotation itself, it usually is going to be located right about there, so west of 71. And the rotation is still there. It's, again, not strong, but there is rotation. So we could see a tornado drop near Hill, or just west of Hillrose. So if you're near the Hillrose area, yeah, make sure you're seeking shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible. West of Sterling in Colorado as well. That's where we're seeing the threat for some large hail. But right now, I do not see a whole lot of rotation here. It's definitely a diminishing storm in terms of rotation. More of a hail concern. So if you're near Sterling, I'd still stay in your safe place for west of Sterling. But at this current time, again, hail is probably going to be the main concern. Even then, the hail threat should be starting to lower a little bit on that storm. Let's go down further to the south into Kansas, where we do have some severe weather here. Back west of Dodge City, we actually have a fairly large storm west of Dodge City, Kansas. So if you're in the Dodge City, Kansas area, be alert. There is a chance for some large hail, and as well as maybe some damaging winds, as this does track out to the east. Again, this is near Cimarron, or in that area. Again, make sure that you are staying away from windows and in the lowest floor possible if you're in that area. But I do not think the storm is really too bad quite yet. And for some reason, the thumbnail is still not changed, and I do not know why. Has the thumbnail changed yet for you guys? I really want to make sure, because I don't know why it's not changing over. If not, I'll have to try to do a different way here. All right, it's changed over on my own end, but I'm not seeing it on the YouTube feed changed over for some reason. I don't know why. It's literally changed over on YouTube. It's just not changed over on the YouTube feed. I don't know why. That's so weird. Hopefully it gets fixed in the next few minutes. I literally, on my end, it shows that it's changed, but it's not changed on YouTube, and I don't know why. It's a little bit frustrating. For some reason, YouTube, I could have sworn before this live stream began, too, it was, like, changed over the right thumbnail, but I can't really do anything about it. It's basically up to YouTube to be able to fix it, because it's fixed on my end on YouTube Studio and everything. It shows the right thumbnail, but for some reason on YouTube, it's not changed over. All right, changed for you? Okay, cool. Yeah, hopefully it's changed. All right, it's changed now. All right, cool. Sorry, I was kind of freaking out. I was like, holy crap, that was a good 45 minutes of having the wrong thumbnail on there. That was really strange. All right, let's go back further off to the west. We still have a severe thunderstorm warning for those a little bit further to the west at Dodge City. This is the one that produced a tornado back near Ulysses, and it's now moving off to the east, fairly rural area, quarter-sized tail, 60-mile-per-hour winds possible. That's going to be, again, west of Dodge City, but, again, I'm not too concerned about this one. It is weakening. Daylight heating has ended, and the rotation is extremely minimal. Back near Dodge City, I'm a little bit more concerned about the damaging wind threat. We do have an outflow boundary here, which does increase the damaging wind threat a little bit, and we also have a pretty large storm here, so it's obviously a mix of just lightning and damaging wind potential, but at this current time, it is not severe thunderstorm warned. I would expect at least some gusty winds, though, in the realm of around 50 to 55 miles per hour. Back in the Oklahoma Panhandle, we still have a severe thunderstorm warning there. East of Elkhart, this can be near Tyrone, and as well as north of Hooker. This is for half-dollar sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds, moving off to the east-northeast towards Liberal in southwest Kansas. So if you're in this area, again, that storm looks to be weakening as well. I do expect the Kansas activity to really weaken over the next hour. The activity that I don't think will weaken yet, but it will weaken over time, which it has been, is the activity back over in north-central Texas, and as well as back over into central Texas. So both central and north-central Texas. This is activity that we've been watching for quite some time. It's mostly quarter to half-dollar sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. Back near Vernon in particular, we still have a severe storm here producing 70-mile-per-hour damaging winds, and as well as quarter-sized hail. So very significant storm here still. It is outflow driven, so that outflow boundary is definitely producing the damaging wind potential as well. So both in the storm and as well as outside the storm pretty much. So again, make sure you're staying away from windows, but the damaging wind threat for 70 miles per hour is located about a good 10 miles to the southwest of Vernon. Again, that's moving down to the southeast, so definitely a bit of a concerning storm there. But west of Benjamin, that is where we're still watching for a half-dollar sized hailstorm and 60-mile-per-hour winds. Throughout other areas in Texas, we actually do have a severe thunderstorm warning back down near Houston. But near Brownwood, we have a little cluster here, outflow driven, mostly just strong storms. And then we have another storm northwest of Houston, Texas, which Houston, Texas, by the way, actually stopped a 2-inch hail earlier. This storm's moving to the northwest, pretty rural area now, but that's also producing ping pong ball sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. All right, let's go back up to the mayhem that's happening up in the northern plains. We haven't really talked too much about this in the last few minutes because we were going over everything in the south. So yeah, pretty much the south is pretty straightforward though tonight. If you're, again, down in Texas, for example, it's mostly going to be isolated severe weather, maybe an isolated damaging wind or hail event. Tornado risk is extremely low to zero at this point. Back up into areas like Kansas, storm activity should fizzle out over the next hour. Outflow boundaries are fairly weak. If there's any outflow-driven storms like the one near Dodge City, it might last a bit more beyond an hour, but I think that storm activity will weaken out. The other two supercells look to be weakening anyways. Any of the storm activity, though, back up in Nebraska or even into Colorado, South Dakota, or even North Dakota, this entire area is a lot more concerning tonight. We are watching for a overnight threat of severe weather. This could last literally into the morning hours tomorrow into Iowa. We're going to be watching a threat for an MCS to maybe set up, which means that we could see potentially a prolonged area of damaging winds going from Nebraska and as well South Dakota all the way through areas into Iowa and southern Minnesota, which will actually set up for our severe weather potential going into Saturday. We actually currently do have a slight risk of severe weather across parts of the Midwest and a marginal threat across areas near Chicago. And this is mainly for the threat of damaging winds and large to very large hail, but there's also a chance for a few tornadoes, especially across areas in Iowa. So very concerning as well. Tomorrow, we might go to enhanced risk of severe weather. We'll see. It's a possibility, at least across Iowa. I would not be surprised by enhanced risk of severe weather. And if there is, we might be able to go live tomorrow. So we'll keep posted there. But that is our next concern would be tomorrow across areas in the Midwest. We have some strengthening rotation as well, just northwest of Hill Rose right now. Northwest of Hill Rose, we do have some strengthening rotation. It's going to be kind of embedded here in this storm, maybe rain wrapped as well, but that is a pretty strong rotation right now. Just to the northwest of Hill Rose. If you're in Hill Rose, again, get to your safe place. Hill Rose, Colorado. Strengthening rotation west of Interstate 76. Mesoconvective system. That's what MCS is. It's just a fancy word usually for like a line of storms. It has deeper meaning for like a meteorology standpoint, but you know, just for a general standpoint, it's, you know, pretty much just a line of storms that's prolonged for a while. Usually damaging winds, though, is the main concern with those sort of setups. Real quickly, let me update the warning count as well. We currently have a drop in the warnings, for sure. We have 2 tornado warnings ongoing. We also still have 24 severe thunderstorm warnings. There are so many severe thunderstorm warnings, most of which are back up into the Dakotas and as well as in Nebraska. We still have a few down here in Colorado, and also in the southern plains, but it's pretty minimal right now. The Scottsbluff area, again, we had an extremely dangerous situation moments ago where we were seeing baseball-sized hail. We have more reports coming out of Scottsbluff. 3.3-inch diameter hail in Scottsbluff at 10:05 p.m. So Scottsbluff got absolutely hammered with hail. More baseball-sized hail was reported out of Scottsbluff. Also, we did have at 8:36, that was earlier, 8:43, 10:03, 10:09, ping pong ball sized hail on the southeast side of Scottsbluff, and 3.5-inch diameter hail just to the east of Scottsbluff. I'm surprised we haven't seen any hail photos yet. This hail is absolutely wild. I'll have to say that, because, man, that's crazy how much hail we've heard of. And there's also some fairly huge damage to vehicles. I just retweeted another tweet. Again, follow us on Twitter at MaxVelocityWX. Somebody's vehicle was absolutely hammered by hail. We did have a measured hailstone size out of Scottsbluff as well. Not really anything too large, but about maybe 2-inch diameter. In comparison to the other hail that we've seen, 2-inch diameter though. That's at least what we've seen at this point. I'm not seeing anything else quite yet. And also, I'm going to retweet the other photo of some larger hailstones, but a little bit larger. Yeah, nothing else as of right now. Again, we just saw moments ago in Scottsbluff, hail upwards of 3.5 inches in diameter. And again, we saw that earlier, actually. We saw softball-sized hail on the west side of Scottsbluff a little earlier. So that was definitely concerning, to say the least. But it does seem like that threat's starting to go down a little bit, though, across this area, which is good news. Starting to go down on the threats. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the chat. Again, if you're just tuning in for the first time, make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe if you've not already. Subscribe, click the bell icon, get notified when we go live. We have 10 subscribers away from 53,400. And if you want to support the page above and beyond, you can become a member. You can also super chat, helps the page out a lot. But yeah. All right, let's go back down to the tornado warnings. Back into Colorado. Again, not a whole lot of developments with these at this point. They've been kind of stagnant for a while. We've had up and downs with the velocities on radar, at least. Again, some rotation still ongoing. Northwest Hill Rose, we also have another little pocket of rotation. There's really 2 right now. Both of which, though, again, are not very strong. They're still broad, in a sense. There was a little strengthening briefly there near 71. So there's a possibility that we saw a brief tornado, but at this point, nothing definitive of a long-tracked tornado to this point, or even a strong tornado. There hasn't been really any debris being lifted up. More of a hail concern, I'd still say. 2-inch diameter hail is still a possibility there. Back near Sterling, we did have a pretty clear, evident rotation at one point. This is a further view of it, but we don't really have all our rotation left here. If you're in the Sterling area, I would still stay away from windows because damaging winds upwards of 70 miles per hour is not out of the question with the core of the storm, but otherwise, the threat of severe weather should stay on the lower side of things at this point in terms of at least a tornado risk. I think the large hail and as well as the wind threat are really the 2 biggest concerns right now. So again, if you're in those areas, still stay away from windows, but a little bit less concerning at this point. And the storm over here, again, not too concerning at this time. We'll keep posted if anything changes there. Yeah, again, this is Logan County and Morgan County. Those are the 2 counties that we have tornado warnings in. Also, recently over in Lorenzo, Nebraska, we had a 61-mile-per-hour wind gust confirmed there. That's the most recent activity there. The second tornado warning that went through Scottsbluff about 30 minutes ago or so, there's not been any confirmed tornadoes to this point, which is pretty clear at this point. There wasn't a whole lot of velocities on that storm to begin with. The rotation was fairly broad throughout that entire area, so that's good news to this point. But Otherwise, a lot of hail. That's the bad news. Hail upwards of 3.5 inches in diameter happened there. So that is the worst news of it all. But at least there wasn't any tornadic activity. We do have a brand new tornado warning that's going to extend onto the one that we have right now. This is going to include Hillrose and as well as Moreno. Prewitt Reservoir are also included in this brand new tornado warning. This is near the Brush area. Brand new tornado warning here in Colorado. So if you're in this area, seek shelter away from windows lowest floor possible. If you're in Moreno, you might have a couple of minutes, but again, yeah, at least indoors, the bare minimum. And that storm should eventually start to go through your area, probably within the next 15 to 20 minutes, as that moves off to the east. Thank you, Tracy, for becoming a minimum velocity member. Appreciate it. Welcome. Yes, I heard about the tornado emergency. I was not able to go live for that, unfortunately, but yeah, I was trying to get live as quick as possible. That's why the thumbnail issue happened, but that should have happened because I already had a thumbnail for it. For some reason, it just didn't transfer over. But yeah, I have not seen any really photos of this tornado at this point. I've seen tornadoes from Colorado and Wyoming. I have not seen a tornado yet, the Scottsbluff one, but it was a PDS tornado. It was on the ground for a few minutes, tornado emergency. To this point, though, I really don't know much about it. So this isn't really a small event, Biz. It's actually, I wouldn't say this is a small event. I mean, there's an enhanced risk, so yeah, it's not really too small event. I usually go live for I go live for a lot of events, though. I mean, we've gone live from anything from a marginal risk to a high risk. I'm not even kidding. Like, we've literally gone live for marginal risks too. So last summer, at least, we did that a lot. This year, though, I mean, I try to go live as much as possible, but I'm balancing two different things now. I have North Texas Weather Center on Facebook, and as well as our Facebook, or as well as our YouTube channel, which we had both before. But Facebook requires a lot more of my time now because we have so many more followers. We have like 90,000 now. I'm covering an area that gets severe weather quite often, and for the past few weeks, I've had to cover these North Texas events where there's been a ton of hail falling, and so whenever there's severe weather in North Texas, I have to be posting on Facebook. And yeah, that's the one unfortunate thing right now. At some point, actually, I'm hoping to hire somebody to be able to run that page so I don't have to, so I can kind of focus more of my time on YouTube, because that's kind of what I want to do. It's been extremely busy, though, to say the least. And I'm hoping that gets fixed, though, at some point, maybe next year. But I think going into the fall, things should clear up a bit more anyways. Anyways, at least the summer, too. I mean, we're pretty much done severe weather season in North Texas, so. Yeah, again, this is in the Fort Morgan area of Colorado, so just northeast of there. That is where we do have an ongoing tornado warning. Again, for Moreno, Hillrose, and Brush, and also near Sterling. I'll kind of zoom out a little bit here, and we'll go back to the velocities. It's kind of messy up here since we're far away from the radar site, but back down here, rotation's still broad. No definitive area of rotation at this point, but those are your winds going away toward and away from the radar. So this is going toward the radar. That's away from the radar. That's how you read the velocities map. So radar's down this direction somewhere. It's pretty far down in the southwest near Denver, but when we're looking at the velocities radars, red always usually means away from the radar, and then green means toward the radar. Just kind of helps you to kind of figure out, is this a counterclockwise or clockwise rotation? Counterclockwise rotations happen about 98% of the time, and then clockwise happens about 2% of the time. So that's kind of how that works there with these storms. All right, while we have a few minutes, because that storm's not going to really reach any areas for a little while, we do have a new tornado warning up into Nebraska. Let's kind of get to that here. This is going to be south of Alliance that we have a brand new tornado warning here. So if you're in this area, seek shelter away from windows lowest floor possible. We're going to get to the velocities map and kind of check out what this velocity area looks like. It's a fairly rural area here, but we do have some strong rotation just off to the northeast of Bridgeport. So if you're in this area, again, seek shelter away from windows lowest floor possible. 38 people live in this spot. Just kind of for reference. So again, it's a pretty rural area. And this is going to include Morrill County and Box Butte County in Nebraska. A very small little area here, but there is definitely rotation. I mean, we're definitely talking about, I wouldn't say strong rotation, but for this area, that's definitely not too bad. I mean, we're looking at a lot of hail too, is the other thing. There's a lot of hail around this. Look at this. Rotation is located in the circle. Look how much hail is around this. The odds of this being contaminated is, I would say, high, but it probably isn't, just due to the fact it's kind of in the dead center here. Just a very disorganized supercell. It's really the easiest way to put it right now. But yeah, this is smack dab in the middle. So if there's a tornado, it's 100% rain wrap. There's no other way around it. So I got you, Biz. Thanks, Canadian. I appreciate it. Yeah, I know it's been a year since we started. It's crazy. 1 year went by so fast. Started doing this a year ago. Wild. What's the point of having overlapping polygons near Moreno? The main reason why they have overlapping polygons, which lasts for 1 more minute, they might have already canceled the other tornado warning, but it's because it was going to expire at 10:30. They did issue it slightly early, but either way, at least gives Moreno a little bit more of an alert there for a tornado warning, but it's mainly because the tornado warning is expiring there, so that would be the main reason. There really isn't a whole other reason, though, behind that. This is just because it was going to expire, so. Yeah, at least he's right as well. Also, we do have some other storms in Nebraska. Actually, we haven't really talked about the other ones. Let's see if we can get a good radar site here. We have some other storms, though, rolling through areas north of Interstate 76. This is near Oshkosh. We have some hail storms ongoing. A lot of these are not too significant. It's mostly under 2-inch diameter hail. So, again, significant means, or yeah, significant or very large hail. That's kind of what I refer to as. It's usually 2 inches in diameter or greater. We're not really seeing that here, but we are still seeing some hail, maybe upwards of golf ball size near the Oshkosh area, as well as ping pong ball sized hail. These storms are all moving off to the north and east. Again, none of these are tornado warned. But again, if you're anywhere just north of Interstate 76, just make sure you're staying away from windows as those storms do roll by. Further to the north in a very rural area here of Nebraska, that's going to be north of Hyannis. This is going to be for golf ball sized hail and 70-mile-per-hour winds. This storm in particular is moving southeast, apparently. I don't think it's moving southeast, but we're going to double check. It might be moving a bit more east-southeast. Oh, maybe it is. Outflow-driven area moving to southeast. The storms are all over the place tonight in Nebraska. I mean, we have some moving more of a northeast direction, like this tornado warning. We have the Scottsbluff storm that's moving east. This storm's moving southeast, and the outflow boundaries can kind of play tricks here. This is definitely outflow-driven. Outflow boundaries usually can direct storms in a way. They don't necessarily direct the storms, but they do end up extending the storm, since we have a outflow boundary that's going in this direction down to the south. We're going to see that extension of storm activity down this direction, so that's what's kind of developing. And then this activity up here usually weakens as it moves off to the north and east due to a lack of energy, and sometimes sinking air as well. Back near the Ainsworth area in Nebraska as well, another core-sized hail, 60-mile-per-hour wind storm. And then further off to the east near Plainview, we also have a storm producing ping pong ball sized hail, as well as 60-mile-per-hour winds. And then further down to the south, we still have a severe thunderstorm watch for Kansas until 11. It's probably going to be let to expire. We don't really have any storm activity left here. The only storm that was really left was near Dodge City. I don't think it's really doing much here. It's probably gusty winds over Dodge City, Kansas. So if you're in that area, not severe, but it is producing some gusty winds. And then the storm just southwest of Liberal has pretty much weakened out. It's no longer in severe limits, even though there's a warning. It's definitely weakening out. There might be some very brief downburst winds there, but it should be weakening out there. And then back near Benjamin and Electra, we do have a couple of different severe thunderstorm warnings here. One of which near Electra is moving down to the east-southeast with 60-mile-per-hour winds, quarter-sized hail. This is your time guide that's been generated by the computer, which is probably going to be pretty inaccurate, so I'm going to take that down. But this is going to be going towards Wichita Falls and Archer City, moving down to the east, southeast, and potentially a bit more down to the southeast. And then back over west to Seymour, we do have an ongoing severe thunderstorm warning here for quarter-sized hail, 60-mile-per-hour wind. So again, very minimal severe weather activity anywhere in the central or southern plains. Most of it is going to be lifted back up here into the northern central plains and as well as into the northern plains. So that's where we're seeing a lot of severe weather. Tornado warning for Sterling has at this point expired as well. So that is no longer ongoing. But we still do have at this point 2 tornado warnings. And we have a total of 20 severe thunderstorm warnings. That's the warning count that we have currently. Let's go back over to wherever this radar site is. I keep losing it. The problem is with this area, there's just like anywhere in the northern plains, the radar sites are usually very spaced out. Back down in the southern plains are usually a lot more intact, since there's a lot more population, so it's a little bit more prioritized. But these radar sites aren't actually that bad. They're spaced out pretty well, because you can at least see what's kind of happening on radar. This tornado warning cell in particular, rotation's starting to fizzle out as well, so it's not nearly as bad, but it's moving off to the north and east again. Very rural area, population of 38. In that tornado warning south of Alliance, stay in your safe place. Again, rotation's kind of weak right now, but it could strengthen at any time. I still have a bit more concern, though, about the tornado warning cell that's in Colorado. This one in particular, near Moreno and Hill Rose, has a little bit more concern, because it, again, it's a bit more organized at this point. It has been more organized for a while in comparison to the other storms that have been up there. The only storms that have been more organized to this point in the last, like, 2 hours have been the PDS tornado in Scottsbluff and the other tornado warning storm that we had in Scottsbluff. Those have been really the most organized supercells. Even the Ulysses tornado warning in Kansas, that was pretty organized. But other than that, this has been pretty much the most organized supercell to this point. It's starting to lose a little bit of its organization, though. We have a pretty large core here of hail at the bare minimum. West of Moreno, that is where we're seeing the threat for some large to very large hail. And then this is your hook right here. Still a clean inflow. Tornado's going to sit right there if we get one. So that's the area where we would have a tornado and not seeing a whole lot of rotation there. So it seems like at this time it's kind of on the weak side of things, but that's your hook gecko. That's where a tornado usually likes to sit. I usually do this because it looks better, but this is, there we go. That's where a tornado would be. So again, if you're anywhere just to the northwest of Hill Rose, definitely get into your safe place. You got a few minutes if you're in Hill Rose, but I'd get to your safe place as soon as possible if there's no emergency things needed. And then Moreno, you got a little bit until this tornado warning cell gets to you, but you're going to be seeing hail here pretty momentarily and possibly some high winds. So if you're in Moreno, Colorado, I would also get to your safe place as well. Moreno, thank you. Yeah, again, pronunciations will not always be accurate. I just pronounce them how they look, and sometimes it's going to be wrong, but that's kind of how it goes sometimes with these places. Because I'm not really from a lot of these areas, but, you know, at least if I'm getting the general point across of what it is, that's what matters. Well, one storm that I legitimately could not pronounce earlier, though, was the Ulysses one in Kansas. That was a... I don't know why I couldn't pronounce that. That was unbelievable, though. Winds are crazy here in Scotts City, Kansas. Thank you for the report. I appreciate it. A friendly reminder, if you're just tuning in for the first time, make sure to subscribe down below, like the stream, and we'll keep you posted with the latest on everything that's happening here across the area. And make sure to click the bell icon down below as well so you get notified with the latest live streams and video forecasts. And as we go into the weekend, again, severe weather will start to shift further to the east. I'll be watching for severe weather in the Midwest tomorrow, and as well as parts of the North or Central Plains. And then also going into Sunday, we'll be watching for severe weather in the Ohio Valley. We could see a full-blown severe weather outbreak on Sunday. So I'll have a video on that for sure tomorrow. I've been basically doing videos every day. So that's what actually, yeah, literally, I'm pretty sure I've done a video just about every day so far. So we should have more of those here coming tomorrow and possibly Sunday. Definitely tomorrow. All right, let's go back over to the velocities again. This is a tornado warning cell going towards Hill Rose. This is where the rotation will be located. It is still very broad at this time, and it's fairly weak in the lower levels. It's a little bit stronger, a little bit higher up, but it's not by much. Again, I don't have a whole lot of confidence that this will produce a tornado at this point, but it's not out of the question if it can, you know, if the low-level winds can intensify, it might, but right now there's just not a whole lot of rotation there. It has a pretty clean-looking hook, though. I mean, it definitely has a hook echo. Clean inflow going into the storm. That right there near 71 is where we would end up seeing a tornado. But at this time, again, very weak rotation to this time. But this is again going towards Hill Rose and Moreno, Colorado. Yeah, Ohio is in the path. Late night streams. I like the late night streams. Those are my favorites. I don't know why. They just are. I'm just more, I would say more comfortable doing late night streams. I don't know why. It's just kind of one of those things. Because like doing early day streams, I mean, it's not bad, but usually like I'm much more awake, I feel like, at 10 o'clock. I'm not very awake at like, you know, 8 or 10 in the morning. So, I don't know. Kind of one of those things. I'm better at communicating too at night. EF4 and Rolling Fork. Was that recently? I can't even remember anymore. There's so many tornadoes that have happened in the last like 2 years. But I mean, the only storms I've ever covered were prior to, or anywhere after June of 2022. So I think that was within the past like few months though. Pretty sure that's back earlier this year. I'm trying to remember. There's been so many tornadoes that's so hard to keep up sometimes. I mean, the most recent one obviously was the Matador tornado that at least done or did some very considerable damage. The Matador tornado though, at this current time, the one in Texas, has not been rated. It's just been over 2 days now. They were supposed to release a statement today during the late afternoon, but there was a lot of severe weather. So there was a potential that they did not release it because of the severe weather that happened today. Or they're still surveying. I don't really know. But will we actually know the rating of that tornado at some point in the next few days? Potentially. But who knows? this point. It's kind of one of those things that we're going to have to wait on. But I would assume it's going to come out by tomorrow. Because it's already been 2 days, at least a preliminary report. Because again, if you didn't already see on the news or see, photos on Twitter or whatever, or Facebook, over in Matador, Texas, there was substantial damage. I mean, we're talking about very, very strong tornado damage. The entire city, pretty much, or entire town there, it wasn't a big town, but the entire town there was pretty much leveled. There was a Dollar General convenience store. That is no longer there. It's completely gone. So it's interesting to kind of see what the rating is. Again, I'm not really going to make any guesses because, a guess is really useless for a rating of a tornado, but I've kind of thought it's probably somewhere in the range of an EF3, EF4 tornado. That's what I've said, but yeah, it could really be anything. We do have a new severe thunderstorm watch in parts of central and northern Nebraska. This just got issued, and we're going to have this threat overnight, by the way. Severe weather is not going to be done anytime soon, so I'll not be live all night, but we do have an ongoing new severe thunderstorm watch until 6 a.m. Yes, you read that right, 6 a.m. This is, again, a full-blown overnight threat, and if you've not watched today's video, go to the timing guide. I talked about it. We're going to basically see a line of storms overnight tonight. This will end up all rolling into areas into Iowa by the morning hours. So that's kind of the concern for tonight. But obviously, for the short term, we are watching areas in Nebraska with a brand new severe thunderstorm watch. This goes until 6 a.m. Main concern is going to be hail up to 2 inches in diameter. That would be out of any of the discrete supercells that we're seeing right now, so the ones that are already ongoing. That's where that greatest chance for hail exists. We could still see some hail overnight, but it's going to be on the lower side of things. Damaging winds up to 75 miles per hour is possible, and maybe an isolated tornado or two. Those are the main concerns overnight. But I think the isolated tornado risk should stay low. It's not zero, it's just low. So that includes Grand Island, Columbus, and as well as Ord, Holdridge, and O'Neill. Those are the main towns and cities included, again, east of North Platte. The tornado watch as well goes until 1 a.m., so that's another couple hours. Tornado watch and severe thunderstorm watch are overlapping for Broken Bow and as well as Ainsworth in Nebraska. And eventually, this will all start to kind of transition over into Iowa and Minnesota by tomorrow. And it will be a pretty active day, to say the least. If you're near Knox City in Texas, by the way, ping pong ball size hail is possible there. That just got updated from the National Weather Service of Norman. I've never experienced a tornado. I've been in a tornado warning before. Believe it or not, it was actually during hurricane coverage. I was in a tornado warning, and yeah, I mean, I've been in a tornado. I've been in probably about 10 tornado warnings, but I've never actually been in a tornado warning that's actually had a tornado, if that makes sense. So at least 10 tornado warnings, if not more. Frank, if you're wondering about Indiana on Sunday, check out my forecast from today. It's at the tail end. I had a little discussion about it. Wasn't anything crazy, though. I'll talk about more on it tomorrow's forecast, but I'm not going to discuss it too much tonight. There's really no new information about Sunday at this time. We don't really have any short-term computer models that have any really big indication on that event. But it will be pretty significant, probably. I'm kind of thinking right now that it's probably going to be a bit more of a significant severe weather outbreak, as long as the storm coverage is pretty widespread, which it looks like it's going to be. Widespread damaging winds is probably going to be the main concern on Sunday. We do have a new tornado warning. This is going to be northeast of Bridgeport, north of Broadwater in Nebraska. Fairly strong rotation, actually. This is going to be, let's check out the reflectivity here. So there is rotation potentially here. There is also a chance that this is contaminated due to the hail falling, but there is rotation located northeast of Bridgeport. So if you're in this area, again, seek shelter away from windows and lowest floor possible. Correlation coefficient is not picking up on debris. It's not really picking up on much hail either, so there might not be a whole lot of contamination, but we are definitely seeing some rotation here northeast of Bridgeport. This is going to include a population of 35 north of Broadwater, Nebraska. So that's where we're looking. But baseball-sized hail is also a potential with this storm. As it starts to drift a bit more down to the east-southeast, it's not really in the path of anything populated. It's a very rural area here. It's very rural. That's basically going to be the track of it. It's going to be going down east-southeast. It perhaps could get close to Bridgeport. If you're in Bridgeport, I'd be alert for maybe a hail threat out of this storm, but right now I'm not too concerned about Bridgeport. I'd be more concerned about Broadwater for a hail concern with this storm that's now newly tornado warned. Probably going to be the main concern here. Thank you, Nate, for the $1 super chat. Appreciate the support. Group in Middle Tennessee have had too many run-ins with tornadoes. Yeah, Tennessee is actually, it's kind of one of those sleeper states, I'd say. They do actually see a lot more severe weather than, like, I mean, I wouldn't say, like, more than, like, Texas, for example. But, I mean, like, they do see, like, more severe weather than what people think. They actually do see a lot more, especially during even, like, the late winter and sometimes into the spring. Even sometimes in the summer, but summer, usually it's not too bad there. It's usually just hot in the summer. Just depends on what the setup is. That's more the, kind of the key thing there. Also, the largest hail I've ever seen, somebody asked in chat, is quarter size. I know, I've, for whatever reason, I've really not seen anything that significant. I used to live, by the way, in North Texas, and that's a known place, by the way, for very large hail, especially recently, and as well as tornadoes and whatnot. But yeah, I've not really seen much of any of that, which is quite crazy. How's it going, Ninja? Yes, Evan, I've seen a lot of the damage over in Rockwall. I've seen a lot back over in Corsicana, I have to say it is, from yesterday too. There's been a lot of tree damage. There's been a lot of hail as well. Obviously, Texas has seen a lot of that recently. North Texas, though, recently has seen a lot of hail as well as wind. And the last couple of days, there's been a lot of wind damage to this point. Which I have some photos I'm going to try to pull up here. Again, for those that are just tuning in, we are just north of Broadwater in Nebraska. This is, again, a tornado warning that is currently in effect for this area. Again, very rural area, though, for right now. All right, I'm not seeing anything there. All right, cool. All right, let's, I'll show you a few of the photos that we had from earlier. This is one of them that was pretty wild. This is over in Lubbock. It's not damaged, but it's actually in Lubbock, Texas. This is West Texas. We had very consistent hailstones around tennis ball from Haley Stout, who sent this in. Very, very wild stuff here. I mean, they are so consistent. It's unbelievable. We saw hail upwards of 4.5 inches in diameter in Lubbock earlier. So very large hail. It's mostly on the outskirts in southern Lubbock, but that was quite wild. I'll say that for sure. Trying to see if we have any other photos here. I think that was really the main one. Tossing trampolines on trees Thursday was yesterday, but we did have a tossed trampoline in a field of crops from Kara Roberts. And this is an example of what we've seen in terms of tree damage. We've seen some huge trees down, and this is just an example. Snap trees has been a big thing in North Texas recently. It's been extremely active in terms of weather for this time of the year, so definitely a concern there. All right, let's talk about some of the stuff that's happening on the radar, because I haven't really talked about it much in the last few minutes. Let's kind of begin with, we'll actually begin with South Dakota. I haven't talked about South Dakota at all, but I'll talk about this for a brief second. We do have severe weather ongoing here along Interstate 90 near Kadoka, as well as near Murdo. This is for damaging winds up to 60, and as well as some $half sized hail, maybe even a little bit of ping pong ball sized hail as well. These storms are all moving off to the north. A lot of this activity is going to become a line of storms overnight and push to the east. So that's the big concern overnight, but for the short term, it is mostly just a lot of rainfall, and as well as the threat for some damaging winds and maybe some sporadic hail. I think the hail threat, though, is lowering in South Dakota. If you're back down in Nebraska, this is a completely different story. Nebraska is still going to see severe weather for the next several hours. We're going to eventually see a line of storms form back near Scottsbluff, which is kind of starting to begin. It's in its beginning stages, and that'll eventually form into maybe an MCS overnight, which would mainly produce damaging winds as it moves off to the east. So again, potential for some, at least some isolated scattered damaging winds. But for the short term right now, we still have ongoing hail upwards of $half size near Bayard. This storm in particular was producing, actually not recently, but it has produced upwards of baseball plus sized hail. So that means around 3.5 inches in diameter. And then we still have a tornado warning ongoing northeast of Bridgeport. That's moving down to the southeast. And then further to the east, near Oshkosh, this is going to be near Interstate 80 as well. These storms in particular are still producing hail. Most of it is below significant size, so 2 inches in diameter or less is ongoing near the Oshkosh area, and also near Julesburg in, I believe that's Colorado. It's kind of on the cusp here. Yeah, that's Colorado. So in northeast Colorado, we're also seeing some hail there. And right now, the storm there near Julesburg is producing quarter-size hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds. And we still have a tornado warning in Colorado. This storm near Fort Morgan has been very slowly but surely getting closer to Interstate 76, which is where most of the population is for this part of Colorado, in terms of at least near Fort Morgan region. So this area here near Merino is losing rotation. I do not actually see any rotation here anymore, so it looks to be a very much weakening cell in terms of rotation. I would expect that this turns over into more of a hailstorm, producing maybe upwards of golf ball sized hail as that moves off to the north and east, maybe towards Sterling, Colorado. So really all these storms are riding right along Interstate 76. Flash flood warnings are in effect because of that threat. We are probably going to see some flash flooding there on possibly even the roadways along Interstate 76, so some interstate flooding is possible. Further down to the south, severe thunderstorm watch ends in 10 minutes for Kansas and the Oklahoma Panhandle, and we still have some storms ongoing across areas in central Texas and eventually going to be entering into North Texas. A lot of these storms are not producing anything too crazy. A lot of them are 60-mile-per-hour damaging winds and as well as some hail. We actually had a 59-mile-per-hour wind gust over in Abilene, and that's from an outflow boundary, by the way. That outflow boundary here produced a 59-mile-per-hour wind gust in Abilene, so non-thunderstorm related. Or it's technically thunderstorm related, but not like, in a direct thunderstorm. Back up further to the north, we also had a wind gust report in Paducah, Texas, of 67 recently. So that was from this supercell that's now moving off to the east. A lot of these cells are starting to weaken out, and that will likely continue as a trend. The only storms that probably won't weaken anytime soon are the ones near Brownwood, but these are mainly going to be producing quarter-sized hail, maybe a little bit of gusty winds as well with that outflow boundary. So that's what we're looking at, again, across areas like Texas and as well as back through Nebraska. And that's really going to be the trend for the rest of the night. Again, we're going to see a line of storms develop. I've had somebody ask about a derecho. This is not a derecho by any means. But we will see at least some isolated, scattered, damaging wind gusts as this all transitions throughout Nebraska towards areas into Iowa. Because, again, the threat tomorrow starts to shift off to the east. Tonight is this, at this point, again, enhanced risk still ongoing across areas in South Dakota and Nebraska. And then your marginal threat goes all the way into Iowa. And that is because as we go into tomorrow, we are going to see an area of storms back over in Iowa as well as Missouri and Illinois. This area in particular is concerning for tomorrow. We're talking about the threat of damaging winds, large to very large hail, so very similar threats to today. And then Iowa, southern Minnesota, and northern Missouri in particular have an increased risk for a few tornadoes. And this could get upgraded to an enhanced risk of severe weather. Not probably for the tornado risk, but more for the hail threat. The hail threat's definitely going to be up there tomorrow. So definitely something to monitor. We will know if there's an enhanced risk in about 2-ish hours. So we will not be live for another 2 hours, but that'll be coming out in a couple hours. So there might be an enhanced risk tomorrow, though, there. And then going into Sunday is going to be a threat that's transitioning into the Ohio Valley, as well as even into the Mississippi Valley. This is going to be a threat that is going to get upgraded. I almost guarantee you we're going to see an enhanced risk of severe weather for mainly damaging winds, but maybe some large hail and maybe a few tornadoes as well. This looks to be a fairly significant day as we go into Sunday. If you want more details on that, you can go to my channel right now and go to the latest video forecast. I have all the details for you. Closer to around minute 6, I think it was. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're seeing right now. That's what we're going to see for the next few days. I got a further reminder, if you're just tuning in, make sure to subscribe down below. We'll keep you posted with the latest, and click the bell icon as well. And make sure to like the stream. Helps get this out to more people. Alrighty. Again, we still have a tornado warning ongoing north of Broadwater. Still some strong rotation here. And no correlation coefficient drop. I think, again, this is more of a... I don't think it's really rotating as much as it shows because of the contamination that we're seeing with the hail. There's a lot of hail falling here. Again, baseball-sized hail potential. So that's definitely a concern here, is baseball-sized hail, I'd say, more than anything. But there is still a chance, again, for this to potentially drop a tornado. But if you're anywhere in this area, the population of 35, make sure you are seeking shelter. Again, this is northeast of Bridgeport and north of Broadwater. And that actually, tornado warning has been canceled. I was about to say, there's a lot of contamination here. You'll notice, again, this is something that I try to kind of teach a little bit. But again, when we look at the radar sometimes, you might sometimes see extremely strong, tight rotation like this. It's not always going to be strong, tight rotation. The main reason why is because when we look at the correlation coefficient, it shows a little bit of stuff, but look at the reflectivity. This is like in the dead center of a storm, in the core, by the way, and this is where all the hail is falling. So when all this hail is falling upwards of baseball size, we occasionally do see very strong rotation looks, but we're very far away from the radar site, 1. And then 2, we have a lot of hail falling. So with that being said, contamination happens sometimes. And since we have all this hail here, that's all kind of contaminating into that the velocities. So one of those important things when we're looking at these supercells that can definitely be very misleading. Last tornado warning that's ongoing is back near Sterling. After that, we are pretty much probably going to be done with tornado warnings, I'd say, for the night. But I don't want to jinx it. We might get one more somewhere. It's again, the threat overall of tornadoes is going to be lowering. Main reason why is because the low-level jet and really the organized supercells that we had are pretty much going away. I mean, the low-level jet's primarily focused here in Colorado and as well as western Nebraska. We still have a low-level jet as we go into central and eastern Nebraska, but the storms are not going to be organized for a tornado threat. It's going to be more of a damaging wind threat, with it being more of a linear line of storms. So storm is more unorganized than being freshman year. All right, interesting. One way to compare it. If you're enjoying the stream, by the way, make sure to, if you want to support the page as well and you're enjoying the stream, you can become a member here on the YouTube channel. It starts from $2.99 and click the join button down below or the top link. Helps out the page a lot. In addition to that, you can super chat, donate, helps the page out a lot as well. We have Vince Storm Chaser most of the time. Today we do not. I don't think he's storm chasing today, but am I a meteorologist? Great question. I am 2 years through college in meteorology, so we have 2 years to go until we are officially a meteorologist. But yeah, it'll be an interesting next 2 years. But yeah, we'll be officially a meteorologist in a couple of years, or about a year and a half at this point. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the chat. I'll be answering a few, since we have a little bit of a lull here in the tornado warning. So the last tornado warning here is near Reno, Colorado. It is going to be expiring, or it might actually just can't. Yeah, it's probably going to expire. It expires in 5 minutes. This tornado warning in particular, the rotation is weakened out substantially. There's really no rotation here. It's just a lot of hail near the Sterling area and Interstate 76. So mainly now it's going to be a hail threat. There is a tornado possible label on it just in case, but yeah. Thank you, Milazzo. Appreciate it. Will it make it to Alabama? No, this is not going towards Alabama. Alabama has had a rough go of things recently. Mississippi and Alabama. They've had a lot of rain recently. It's been relentless. There's some good news coming. It's going to get a bit drier as we go into early next week, but man, it's been relentless rain and just non-stop storms across those areas. It's been, I'd say, brutal, to be honest. It's been pretty bad out that direction. Geek, currently I have no plans to really, I'm not pursuing a job right now. I literally still have like 2 years, so I don't know what I'll be doing in 2 years. We'll see. Right now, YouTube and Facebook are going well, so as long as that keeps happening, I don't really foresee myself going to get a job, but it might happen at some point. I don't know. Things always change, so we'll see. Thank you for the $10 super chat. I really do appreciate it. That's very generous of you. Thank you for giving all this info. Very helpful to know. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, college is expensive as is. I'll tell you that. It's so expensive. But I'm glad I have a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but I have a few sponsors that really help me out. So, primarily on Facebook. But yeah, college is extremely expensive, and it's worth it though. It's not that, I really want to be a meteorologist. I mean, 2 years from it now, already 2 years through, but it just improves your credibility substantially. And I don't want to be another weather YouTuber, for example, that isn't a meteorologist. I'd rather get the degree and have that credibility. And I honestly want to learn a lot more about weather. I don't know everything. I'll be brutally honest. I don't know everything, and I will not know everything probably ever, but I want to know a lot more about weather. Because again, I really do not know, I'd say I know a lot, but I don't know like all that I want to know. There's so much stuff to learn with supercellular development. All the different cloud types, by the way, there's so many cloud types. I mean, it's unbelievable. If you look at the list of cloud types, there's thousands. There's a lot, but the general ones, there's usually only a few dozen. So, how's it going, Gabe? Welcome back. Fallon, yeah, there was a tornado emergency over in Scottsbluff, or just south of there. That's where the tornado was. I still do not know any details about that tornado. I know there was confirmed tornadoes there. I haven't seen any videos. I haven't seen any photos. At this point, I was not live for that tornado emergency. I went live like right after that, since I was busy. So I really do not know much information about that. But there was a tornado emergency there. This tornado warning, by the way, is officially expired. So we are now back onto severe thunderstorm warnings. Across areas like Nebraska. Again, we have a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings still, but let's drop that. And we currently have have to give you a drum roll, please. We have 23 severe thunderstorm warnings. A miraculous amount, but it is across a fairly large area. Again, this is a wide view of things here across all of Nebraska, South Dakota, and as well as Colorado. That is where a lot of the severe weather is focused. We have about 5% of the severe storms back down in Texas, and as well as, yeah, it's actually, yeah, it's basically just Texas otherwise. I do want to pull something up real quick. This is pretty interesting when we look at the satellite imagery with the supercells. We're going to go to the infrared imagery in particular. This is one of those cool things that I like to show a lot of the time in live streams. It's going to be the this one. There we go. So yeah, this is the infrared imagery, and I love looping this. You kind of see all the storm development and how it just explodes here across the United States. So look at the storms back down in Texas. Those red colors are indicating very cold cloud tops in the atmosphere. We saw a lot of that back down in Texas, and we actually still are. We're just going to kind of go region by region here. So we'll start the southern plains. Back down near north central Texas, again, those white colors, those are like overshooting cloud tops. So we're actually seeing extremely cold cloud tops there. That usually increases even the tornado risk sometimes, but also the very large hail threat increases with that. So we're seeing a lot of that in the southern plains. Also look back up in Kansas. We have some of that storm activity. A lot of it's weakening, but a lot of lightning is still possible when we see a lot of that red, even sometimes the yellow. But again, that's indicating cold cloud tops across these areas. And the red anywhere, basically green is like the warmest, and blue and white is the warmest cloud top. And once we go kind of up the color scale, like going basically green and yellow are usually going to be your warmest cloud tops as well. It gets much colder in the red to white sector and the black sector as well. But you'll notice back up in Nebraska as well, we have a lot of storm activity up there. This is what it looks like back up in the northern plains. Actually, pretty crazy what we're looking up in the northern plains. There's a lot of storm activity and a lot of rain. I mean, that's all rain right there. So, and we can compare that here to the actual radar itself with this, so you can see it on the radar. Again, a lot of rain. It basically extends all the way back up into here, into Montana. It's an extremely large area of rain. It's not moving northeast, but you kind of get the general picture. It's a lot of storm activity and a lot of severe weather still. I mean, we still have a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings. A lot of them are mostly in the range of $half to maybe ping pong ball sized hail, maybe a couple around hen egg size, but damaging winds up to 70 is really the peak wind speed now. The tornado risk is going down. So again, a lot of good news at this point. A lot of good news. I think you chasing for the 199. I'm from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Any plans for a live stream on Sunday? I don't know yet. We'll see. I don't even know what I'm doing on Sunday yet. I do have to do some stuff over the weekend, but if I am able to, I will. I might go live tomorrow. It's more likely I'll go live tomorrow than Sunday. I'll say that. But yeah, we'll see. Again, I don't really have a live stream schedule. It's just when I can, more than anything, because I'm pretty busy. Benjamin, just bachelors. I'm not going for masters. At this time, at least. We got a future cast for North Dakota and South Dakota. Sure. Why not? I'll pull that up real quick. Hard to include both areas, these region maps. I'm going to do a regional map because I'm not going to do both states at once. Let's go back over to the future radar. So if you're back over into areas like Nebraska or in really anywhere in the northern plains, this is what the timing looks like overnight. So this is right about now. There's obviously a lot more storm activity, but this as we go into the overnight hours, so around about 1 a.m. or so, we're going to have a line of storms. That's what's going to form. So again, overnight, that's the big concern, is a line of storms. And this is going to continue to push off to the east, mostly damaging winds. It could turn into an MCS. Again, I don't expect a derecho at all out of this. It's just not the right environment. Once we go into the morning hours, so around about 6 in the morning, this line of storms is back over into southwest Minnesota and as well as western Iowa. Again, mostly damaging winds. And then by the late morning into the afternoon, those storms weaken out, and then we get a new batch of storms during the afternoon, which leads to our next threat of severe weather tomorrow afternoon for the Midwest. And you'll notice as we go into tomorrow afternoon, storms will blow up. A lot of these are hail producers, might be some damaging winds and maybe perhaps a tornado. And then going closer to the overnight hours, that is when storm activity will maybe increase again near Iowa. We could see some more discrete cells fire off, and those ones will be capable as well of some large to very large hail, damaging winds, and perhaps a tornado. So that's the threat right now as we go into tomorrow. Also, this is a little loop as well of the storm activity. A little 30-minute loop. We've had a lot of warnings over the last 30 minutes. I don't think the loop's working right. We'll just stay on here. Pretty massive hailstorm, by the way, near Sterling. Golf ball sized hail is possible near Sterling, and as well as 60-mile-per-hour damaging winds. Tornado possible still on the storm, so there's still, again, a chance for a tornado near Sterling, but I still think the threat's going to stay pretty low here. Let's go back over to the high-definition radar. Take that off. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. There we go. But this is the storm near Sterling right now. Again, fairly intense storm. I mean, we're talking, again, about pretty large hail at the bare minimum. Large hail core here for sure. Rotation is appearing, but again, this could just be contamination. Let's go to the correlation coefficient, and again, a lot of hail falling at the bare minimum. So, definitely some hail. But yeah, this is a massive hailstorm here near Sterling, moving off to the east-northeast. Concerning, to say the least, if you're near Sterling and Marino, but Fleming, Colorado is the next in track for that hailstorm. It could be upwards of about 2 inches in diameter, though. It looks to be a bit larger than golf ball. There's been a lot of storms in Florida recently, Dave. I definitely agree with that. North Platte, mostly just hail and wind threats, Trevin, but there could also be the threat for maybe an isolated tornado, but I think the tornado risk, again, is dropping right now. I think it's really at a low point. I think it's going to keep decreasing, and it's going to be near zero overnight. I say near zero, it's not zero, but it's going to be near zero, so it's a very low risk overall tonight. That's awesome, Benjamin. That's awesome. Yeah, the tornado threat should be pretty low overnight. Right. See if we have any other photos from Scottsbluff real quick. Kind of curious to see if we had any more hail there, but there is a destroyed house on the east side of Scottsbluff. Again, if you want to check out the photos from the tornado in Scottsbluff or any of the other photos I've retweeted like hail, I'm going to post a link in chat to our Twitter, so make sure to follow us there. And also, by the way, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, click the bell icon down below so you're notified when we go live, and make sure to hit the like button down below. But yeah, talking fast. You guys heard my outro, by the way, in today's video. It was very fast. Very, very fast. But yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to be looking at the rest of the night. Again, there's a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings still, a lot. But again, I think the tornado risk does stay fairly low tonight. I don't think it's going to increase much. If anything, it's going to just keep decreasing. And if there's any sort of tornado threat, it's probably going to happen in western Nebraska. North Platte should just be hail and wind. But yeah, we're going to eventually see a line of storms kind of organized here. We're starting to get a little bit of that here in Nebraska, but it's not very definitive yet. It's pretty disorganized to this point. Kayak, yeah, for the right dimensions, that's what I do. Oh, by the way, a quick reminder for those that are interested, on shopmaxvelocity.net, we are going to officially have our Tossing Trampolines merchandise go away in about a few days. So if you've not already gotten it, this is what it looks like. Again, we have Texas Home of the Flying Trampolines and as well as Max Velocity merch on it as well. Again, we talk about flying trampolines all the time, but this stuff will be going away in a few days. So if you want it, make sure to check it out on our store, shopmaxvelocity.net. I'll post a link in the chat. I just want to throw it out there real quick because I know some people are interested in it, and a lot of people have already gotten it, which I appreciate. And also, we do donate $1 for every shirt or hat sold on the website to the ocean cleanup, which will also begin to do more weather-based donations here in the future for non-profit organizations. So that's one other thing that we do. Recently, we sold 13 total hats and t-shirts, but we ended up donating $20 instead of $13. I just rounded up to 20, so we are doing some causes for this stuff. It's not just, you know, making money. I don't make really much on it to begin with, but I just kind of want to throw it out there. Just so you guys had, you know, something if you want to get some Max Velocity merchandise as well. The flying trampoline stuff will be gone in a few days. We also have a Supercell hat on there, but that'll be there for a while. All right, back to weather. Des Moines is tomorrow, Revive. So there will not be really anything tonight for Des Moines, anywhere really in Iowa. Tomorrow morning is when you might see that line of storms again. Most likely you'll see that during the mid to late morning over in Des Moines, but tomorrow afternoon is when severe storms will ramp up with large to very large hail and as well as damaging winds being possible. Also, I did want to throw out one more time, the ShopMax Velocity page. If you do purchase any merchandise while I'm streaming, you will see an alert on the screen pop up. One other thing I want to throw out there, but other than that, that's basically it. All right. Also, the new mesoscale discussion that we have for North Texas, this is going to be across areas west of Dallas. This is still a continuing threat. Large hail damaging winds possible. Tornado threat is pretty much zero out of this stuff, but damaging winds is the main threat. We still have a few storms out there, nothing organized. The future radar models earlier today were showing that we would have a more organized line of storms, but the thing was, we had storm activity that was already ongoing during the afternoon hours in DFW. We saw a few significant hailstorms. Upwards of 2-inch diameter hail was actually falling over near McKinney, Texas. That's just north of Dallas. And we had a very large hailstorm earlier that rolled through. And what that basically led to was a very strong outflow boundary going this direction. That's kind of stabilized the environment a bit more across North Texas, at least DFW particularly. But we still have a threat for damaging winds since these are outflow-driven storms as well. They will have a bit of life as they go down to the east and as well as down to the southeast. The storm west of Wichita Falls, the one behind the other storm near Wichita Falls, so we're talking about near Benjamin, Texas. This one in particular is going a bit more east-northeast, so it's probably not going to be going towards DFW, but it is going towards Wichita Falls. This one here is weakening as it moves down to the south and east. It should fizzle out before it gets anywhere close to Jacksboro or Decatur. But, yeah, and also there's one other one east of Brownwood, Texas. It's also moving off to the east, going towards Gatesville. Otherwise, we're just watching a lot of severe weather, mainly up into the northern plains. So that's what the main threat's going to be for the rest of tonight. Waco is not good yet. Waco might see storms overnight from that other area of storms near Brownwood. Hail is the main concern, maybe some damaging winds as well. So just make sure you take the proper precautions before you go to bed. But the threat should remain low. Kayak, I'll do a video on that at some point about how to read soundings. I think I actually have a how to read soundings video on YouTube for members only, which I made last year, if I'm not mistaken, which it shouldn't be members only. It just, or it actually, technically it's supposed to be members only, but I think I have to double check. I don't know if I have that. I have some sort of video though, but if not, yeah, I don't actually have one. I have a few different tutorial videos for just members, but for soundings, I'll make a tutorial video on that at some point, and I'll probably make that one public. Because I've been meaning to do that for a while, I just haven't had time. Because I know a lot of people wonder how to actually read soundings, which I do want to do. If you have any questions or anything like that about tomorrow's severe weather, so for those in the Midwest, or even on Sunday's severe weather, I recommend checking out my video for today. I'm not really going to go over anything new in this stream about what's happening tomorrow. I've already kind of gone over the information. Nothing's changed, really. So, yeah, again, if you have any questions about that, feel free to check out my video from today. Again, it's very up to date. It's pretty much what to expect. By the way, we do have some rotation back up near Newport and Bassett in northeast Nebraska. There's actually a little bit of rotation here. I noticed that. It's a little bit of hook here. It's not much. It's pretty weak rotation, but there is a little bit of rotation there. We do have a bit of an inflow going into the storm as well, so something to maybe watch. It's nothing crazy, but it is producing golf ball sized tail 60-mile-per-hour winds as well, but again, nothing too crazy. Just a little supercell that's kind of formed and moving off to the north and east. Other than that, that's pretty much what we're looking at here as well. Yeah, if you have any more questions about tonight's severe weather, let me know in the chat. I'll be live here for a little bit longer. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning west of North Platte. This can be for Sutherland. This is quarter-sized hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds moving off to the east. So if you're in this warning, get away from windows, lowest floor possible. That's going to include Sutherland and west of North Platte. And just south of Arthur. And we also have a hail path here from earlier. There's actually upwards of softball-sized hail over in Llewellyn in Nebraska as well, in Keith County. I didn't even know that. There was a 4-inch hail as well down here. There's been a lot of softball-sized hail today, ranging across multiple states. We've had softball-sized hail near Scottsbluff. We've also had it down here, north of Interstate 80, near Llewellyn. And we've also had it back down in Lubbock, Texas. It's been all over the place today. We've literally had 3 different storms produce at least softball-sized hail, if not even a little bit greater. So it's been, again, very active tonight. It's been very active. It's been active ever since like 4 or 5 o'clock today. Yeah, Kayak, I totally understand. I'll definitely make sure to make a video for that. If I don't, remind me in like 2 weeks. But I should be able to get that at some point done. Is Indiana supposed to get bad weather tomorrow? Indiana, no, not tomorrow, but on Sunday. Yeah, if you want more details on that, check that out on the latest forecast from today. Because I don't have any new details for you. It's just basically the same stuff from today's forecast. And you can skip to about minute 6. That's when I talk about it. Yeah, there was a tornado emergency earlier back up in Scottsbluff. No longer a tornado emergency. There's actually a new severe storm, though, again for Scottsbluff. I mean, I swear, sometimes Scottsbluff gets hammered with severe weather. This isn't the first time I've seen this. Last year, at some point last year, we had like 4 or 5 different severe storms that went through Scottsbluff in a day. It was unbelievable. And we have more of that today. I mean, this is like the 3rd different storm that's about to go through Scottsbluff with now another severe storm. So it's producing quarter-sized hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds. I mean, it's not much, but, you know, just kind of looking at the history here. Scottsbluff has had the PDS tornado, which was just on the southeast side of the town. And then also the other tornado warning around 9:30, maybe 10 o'clock. Now we have another one. So, winter forecast. I'm not doing a winter forecast. There's been somebody on YouTube recently that's been promoting an Arctic summer. That's not happening, by the way. I don't know why in the world. Yeah, it's just weird stuff. But yeah, I'm not doing a winter forecast. We've just begun summer. There's no reason to talk about winter. Winter forecasts are very overrated. Unless you're like in the fall. There's a little bit more logic behind it if you're in the fall. But if you're in like the summer, you don't have any clue what El Nino is going to be by that time, or if we're going back to neutral or something like that. Even though forecasts are projecting almost a super El Nino. Yeah, we're not going to really have anything in terms of details there. Arctic summer and an El Nino. I'm not even kidding. I've seen literally thumbnails of somebody advertising an Arctic summer, and obviously, I'm pretty sure it's just for clicks. But yeah, it's not happening. I'm just gonna say that it's already been on we're already on a record-breaking summer. It's in terms of heat. So it's yeah, we're nowhere close to it. Post real quick. But yeah, I'm not gonna do a winter forecast. Probably if I do one, it will not be until like late fall. Again, there's really not a whole lot of logic behind it. But so far, I had the summer forecast. If you haven't watched that, the summer forecast I did a couple weeks ago, or not even. I think it was 3. Actually, the summer forecast I did back at the very beginning of this month. Actually, so it's technically 3 weeks ago. I did it. I didn't upload it though until about maybe 1.5, 2 weeks ago. Main reason why is because I went on vacation, so I was just planning on uploading that video when I didn't need to do anything too significant in terms of severe weather videos. So that video was actually made 3 weeks ago. So far, the Midwest drought thing has been very accurate. But again, I mean, we're just starting summer. It's literally 3 days in, but we haven't been in a drought there. I think the first half of the summer, the Midwest and the Ohio Valley will be in a drought, and then as we go into the second half of the summer, I think things start to change a bit. All right. Yeah, super El Nino. That's probably what's going to happen. I live in Illinois. It's been stupidly hot. That's one way to describe it. It's been very hot in the United States. In a lot of areas. Thank you to, I don't know, I didn't realize that was the sound of an alert that made. Somebody just purchased merchandise. I don't know who. Check. Thank you, J.A. For some reason it doesn't tell me the full name, but thank you for purchasing a Max Velocity flying trampoline sticker and a Max Velocity flying trampolines mug. I appreciate it. Thank you. That also means, actually, never mind. It does not mean anything. I appreciate you purchasing some merchandise on shopmaxvelocity.net. And again, the flying trampoline merchandise will be going away in, I believe, it should be around until next week. It'll probably be around until about July 5th, I think. It's actually not going away as soon as I think, but it's probably July 5th or July 6th. So, thank you, Key. I appreciate it. Let's see. Now, it's actually interesting when we think about it, because the temperatures in the United States are in an interesting spot. Let's go to the large map for a second. This is what it looks like on the large scale of things. These are just the METAR observations, but it's very cold in the northwestern United States. Also, something I forecasted this summer, it's going to be a very slow start to summer for these areas. because of how cold it has been with all the snowpacks. I mean, some places right now, I can't remember where, I think Nevada, there are still some places that have like 2 feet of snow on the ground, and we are literally in the end of June. It's really wacky what we've seen so far, and it's very hot, obviously, on this part of the United States, and back through Mexico, we have a heat dome next week, and it's interesting, but parts of the United States do indeed have, I wouldn't say record-breaking cold temperatures, but it's definitely well below average for some areas. It's mainly the Northwest United States, though. That is the only way I see some sort of Arctic summer, you know, whatever, the thing that I've heard on YouTube or whatever, but it's obviously, again, we're not seeing an Arctic summer. But over there in the Northwest United States, there actually has been a little bit of that. It's been colder than normal, but again, the temperatures are still like in the 50s. I mean, they've maybe dropped into like the 40s, maybe upper 30s, but it's again, not that drastic. Thank you, Guy. I appreciate it. Appreciate you purchasing some merchandise. But yeah, that's pretty much my whole thing about it. Again, we're not going to see an Arctic summer. It's going to be brutally hot across much of the United States. I'm just telling you the truth. That's what's happening. So the heat dome is going to continue next week in Southern Plains, Texas area, and Mexico could be dealing with some record-breaking heat. High temperatures in DFW next week could go as high as 106 degrees. So it will be hot next week. Cold, we are getting 110 degree weather. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what's happening. It's going to be a hot summer. Yeah, I don't really have much else about it. That's pretty much, I have it all in my summer forecast if you want to actually hear some more of my thoughts about the summer. I believe that's the main video. If you go to the front of my page on the homepage or whatever, that is the main video there if you want to watch it. Just kind of give you my thoughts about the summer, but yeah. Cooler start for the Northwest United States, and then, again, it's going to get warmer gradually throughout the summer, and then most of the rest of the country is just going to be hot. My AC is out. My AC was out last summer, and it was unbelievably hot. It was like 95 degrees in my house. It was brutal. Yeah, I've had to deal with that where the AC is out, and that is the worst time, by the way. If your AC ever goes out when it's this hot, it is awful. One of the worst experiences, and I hope nobody else in this chat ever goes through it, but funny enough, a blade came flying off. That's why our AC just broke. A blade. It's very strange to begin with, I'll just say that. By the way, we're only 35 subscribers away from 53,500, so if you've not already, make sure to subscribe here to the YouTube channel. 35 away. Thank you, KO, as well, for purchasing a Tornadic Supercell trucker hat. I appreciate it. Thank you. That also means $1 is going towards the ocean cleanup. All right. So severe weather will almost be dead for 4 months. I mean, it depends on where you are. If you're in like Texas, it's not going to be dead, but it'll just be very inactive. I mean, this summer, again, I've kind of talked about my thoughts about this summer, but if you're down in Texas, I think the severe weather threat remains low. I think there's a better chance of severe weather going closer to August. That's usually when it ramps up a little bit more, but it would be more of the hailstorm variety. It'll just be like a few hailstorms. It won't be anything that crazy, but that's my thoughts right now on this summer. I don't really have any other thoughts beyond that, though. It's very, very minimal down there, usually what they see anyways during this time of the year. If you have any questions, by the way, about any of the severe weather happening now, feel free to let me know in the chat. If you have any questions about tomorrow or Sunday, go to my latest forecast. That's all those details, but that's pretty much it right now. I mean, again, we have a lot of hailstorms out there. We still have a total of 18 severe thunderstorm warnings, so it's a little bit lower than what I have on here. It's dropped a little bit, but we still have 18 severe thunderstorm warnings, so it's still a lot. Again, a lot of the severe weather that we're going to see is going to become a line of storms. We are starting to see that form. We have an organizing line of storms. We have two areas of storms. One is west of North Platte. We have another one back up here in parts of northwestern Nebraska, and this is eventually going to organize into a line of storms, and it'll push off to the east. Some of the storms in North Dakota as well will kind of merge into this, and it'll eventually become a big line of storms. It's not going to be very intense. It'll be bringing some damaging winds. I mean, the entire thing should at least bring some gusty winds, but damaging wind potential is not overly high. It's going to be kind of in the low to medium side of things. It's not going to be a derecho, as I mentioned before, just some isolated, scattered damaging winds. But numerous gusty winds are possible across that line that forms tonight. And then this will all eventually go into Iowa, as well as southwest Minnesota, and as well as northwest Missouri. So So that's kind of the timeline right now on this entire area of storms. And again, we have a lot of warnings out there. We still have a tornado watch until 1 a.m. I still think the tornado threat stays low for the rest of this evening and as well as into the overnight hours. But if there's a tornado threat, it's going to be low. So have a tornado action plan in place, have multiple ways to receive alerts, all that sort of stuff. But again, I'm not too concerned about that at this point. How often do I usually go live? It really varies. Some months I go live as many as 10 to 15 times in a month. Sometimes I only go live like twice or 3 times. The lowest I've ever gone live, though, in a month is like 3 times. That's it. I don't think I've ever gone live less than that, at least in the last year. Even then, it's usually between 5 to 10 times a month. Hannah, where's the closest city to that? I'm not sure where Wolf City is. Yeah, if you're near North Platte, main concern for you in the next hour or so is going to be damaging winds up to 60, as well as quarter size hail. Greenville. Yeah, you should be done for the night. Yeah, you're definitely done for tonight. There is a low risk of severe weather tomorrow in the southern plains. It's extremely low. That's why I haven't mentioned it. But there's a risk tomorrow in parts just west of DFW. One thing to keep in mind here is it's low. Can't say that enough. It's low. No, there's really not a whole lot else to tomorrow in the southern plains. It's again, tomorrow's threat is mainly in the Midwest. That's where we could see significant hail, damaging winds, and perhaps a few tornadoes is the threat across the Midwest tomorrow, not including Chicago. It's just west of there. It's primarily Iowa, southern Minnesota, northern Missouri. Those are the main areas for tomorrow. If you have questions about either Saturday or Sunday, again, watch my forecast from today. It has all those details. I'm not going to go over it in this live stream. We're about to wrap up anyways, because again, severe weather will be winding down here over the next few hours. Before we go, though, again, make sure to hit the like button down below. Subscribe if you're new here. Friendly reminder before you leave, though. Go check out shopmaxvelocity.net. I'll leave the link in the chat. Again, all the flying trampoline merchandise is going to be going away in the next few days. Or I think about July 5th is when it's going to go away, but I don't know if I'll be live in between now and then. So, again, if you want to get any of that sort of merchandise, feel free to pick it up. Again, we have Texas ones, and we also have the Max Velocity one. That's home of the flying trampolines. Again, if you're a fan of the flying trampolines, that's what we have on the store. We also have a tornado trucker hat as well. This is our Supercell trucker hat. It is embroidered, so it's very high quality. You can get different colors as well. Don't forget, there are multiple options. You can get pink, red, whatever you'd like to do. That's all options. Again, if you want to support my page, it's a great way to do so. You can also become a member on our YouTube channel for as little as $2.99 a month. Helps my page out a lot if you want to do that. If you purchase a hat or a t-shirt, again, I will be donating $1 from every purchase to the ocean cleanup, which basically helps clean our oceans. So your purchase will help in that regard anyways. And we also have hoodies, hats, and that sort of stuff. We have a few unpublished stuff, but we do have a trucker hat right now for the Supercell. I'll be releasing more stuff down the road. And yeah, that's about it, though, for the merchandise store anyways. I just want to throw that out there. But otherwise, I do appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, make sure to like and subscribe before you leave. Click the bell icon. And I really do appreciate all you guys tuning in tonight. Thank you guys so much for your support. And we will see you guys all again in another live stream. I hope to go live again tomorrow, but we'll see. I don't know 100% yet. If not, I'll try to go live on Sunday. If not, I'll try to go live sometime next week. But I'm very busy over the next few days anyways, and I will not be around the end of this month into early next month. I will be busy. So I'll try to get a live stream in hopefully tomorrow, but if not, again, I'll see you guys at least in a video forecast in the near future. Thank you for watching. Have a great, safe rest of your night. We'll see you guys all again soon. That is the wrong screen. I do apologize. See you guys all again soon.